Okay, round two, we're gonna do this again. Good afternoon, everybody. As it is a new year, we are going to hold an election for chair. So I will be opening the meeting and taking care of that election, and then the new chairperson can take over the meeting from me. So we will officially call the meeting to order at 12:47. Recognize that we are having this meeting on the traditional territories of the Deschutes First Nation and the Hoopajesset First Nation. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube to the Regional District website. And then we have quite a few new faces around the table. Before we do the elections, we'll go through and do a roundtable of introductions. We'll go to our online participants as well. So we'll start next to me here.
Hello, my name is Anna Lewis. I am the manager of the Alberni Valley Food Security Society and have a small hobby farm called Sprout Starts.
Hi, my name is Sarah Reimer and I am the president of the Spirit Square Farmers Market Association. And I also have a small farm called No Rhyme or Reason Farm.
Hi, my name is Tanya Shannon. I run the cabin at Shannon Farms, our family dairy farm in the Alberni Valley.
Hello, I'm Bob Collins. I'm a farmer in the valley of the Sprout Lake side of things, semi-retired.
Hi, I'm Star Haroff or Star Miklashek, either one. I am new to the Alberni Valley. I recently moved out to the end of Beaver Creek and I run a herd of blue-faced Leicesters and grow flowers. And so I am also a clothing designer.
Helen Zanetti, as Pacific Rim School District trustee. Thanks for having me. Nice to see everybody.
Hello, I'm Wayne Smith. I'm a director in the Farmers Institute, farmer here in the Alberni Valley for about 40 years. And also I have a company called Vancouver Island Grain and Milling Limited. So I'm the guy that's really passionate about grain. So.
Good afternoon, Pat Deacon, City of Port Alberni Economic Development, and somebody who's really concerned about food safety, security, and supply.
Hi, everybody. My name is Patty Palmer. I am the 4-H representative on this board. I've been a 4-H leader here in the Valley for about 17 years, and I'm now key leader in training, which means I'm sort of officially the head of it. So we're trying to bring 4-H back. I'm also a retired veterinarian and business owner, and my husband and I have a little acreage out in Cherry Creek.
Hi, I'm Heather Shobe. I have a small farm, Eden Tree Farm and Gardening. I've also worked on contract with the regional district here, supporting food and agriculture for a number of years.
Hi, my name's Ann Siddall. I'm the administrator for the Alberni District Fall Fair.
Oh, good afternoon. Aklama Penny Cote. I'm the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Director for Sprout Lake. Also sit on the Ag Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Lisa Aylard, Stonehaven Farm. We run a Black Angus beef and sheep farm. We had the first Farm Gate Plus, or I guess it was D-license for the Valley as well. I'm currently the president for the Alberni Farmers Institute. I'm also the rep to District 8 Farmers Institute. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Needham. I'm the sustainability planner for the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District. Things like agriculture, food security, environment, climate, natural assets, you name it, in my portfolio. And I'm super happy to be here and see all of you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Russell Dyson. My wife and I, Jennifer, manage Coleman Meadows Farm. We raise water buffalo, and my son and his wife live on the farm and raise a conventional herd of mostly Jersey cows.
Thank you, everybody. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Kristen Karanhue, Administrative Assistant with the ACRD, and we'll move to our online group here, starting with Katie.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again, meet you. I represent the Tofino Community Food Initiative. And then another part of that is that I'm facilitating the Coastal Foods Roundtable alongside Amy from the ACRD. And what that group does is connect the number of people who are growing food out on the West Coast, Ucluelet, Tofino, Bamfield, with the ACRD directly.
Great. And Director Boyko?
Thank you, Fred Boyko, Electoral Area Director for Beaufort. Thanks.
Thank you. And Tom?
Good afternoon, Tom O'Dell, Regional Agrologist for the BC Ministry of Agriculture and Food for North Vancouver Island. I'm also a small producer of wholesale plants in a nursery.
Thank you. And Erica?
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Gold, and I lead Eat West Coast, which is a food security and sovereignty initiative funded by Island Health and the Clayoquot Biosphere Trust to support all kinds of food projects across the West Coast region. Thanks.
Thank you. And Shari?
Good afternoon. I'm Sherry Patterson, and I'm from the Islands Agricultural Show, which kind of represents a little bit of what everybody there does.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Some of you will notice we've got more bodies at the table than we would have had last time. We've extended invitations to the Agricultural Advisory Committee to participate as ex officio members. So there is no voting on their end, but just the regular members of the Agricultural Development Committee will be voting on motions and for the election as well. Okay, so we'll start the election. I'd like to call for nominations for chairperson of the Agricultural Development Committee for 2025, a first time. Any nominations? Okay, and Heather, do you accept that nomination?
I will accept, but I would encourage other folks to stand as well. And should I be the one nominated, beware. I'm not a big fan of the Roberts rules. I'm not so smooth. And I'd like to give everyone a chance to speak. So while we might need to move through things, it would be really important for me that people have a chance to talk, and that sometimes drags things on. So if you want somebody quicker, make sure you nominate somebody else.
Thank you very much. I'll call for nominations for chairperson of the Agricultural Development Committee a second time. Any other nominations? No, okay, and we will call for nominations for chairperson of the Agricultural Development Committee for 2025 a third time.
Tanya.
Is that a nomination official?
I would like to nominate Tanya Shannon.
Okay, all right. So Tanya Shannon, do you accept that nomination?
Can I give a speech with my thank you, but I declined with thanks? Heather, can I just say, just because the kids are in school, these meetings can be tricky for me to get home for the bus. So as we did last year, I would stand for vice, if that would be acceptable. Not sure.
Okay, so we have one accepted nomination and one declined nomination, so we will not have to hold an election. I will declare Heather Schaub the chair of the Agricultural Development Committee for 2025. Okay, and now we'll hold the election of the vice chairperson. So now we can call for nominations of the vice chair for the Agricultural Development Committee of 2025.
I nominate Tanya Shannon as vice chair.
I'll stand for that one. Thank you.
All right, I'll call for nominations for vice chairperson for a second time. Okay, and call for nominations for vice chairperson of the Agricultural Development Committee for 2025 a third time. Okay, no second or third nominations, and so we do not have to hold an election. I declare Tanya Shannon as the vice chair of the the Agricultural Development Committee for 2025. Okay. Okay, and I'll pass this meeting over to our chairperson, Heather Schultz.
Okay, well, thank you. Yes, and yes, 1 year, that holiday in April. Okay, moving on. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Wayne. All approve. Oh, I know I missed something.
Sorry, that's just me. It's gonna take some to get.
All in favor? Motion passed, thank you. Are there any declarations of a conflict of interest? Okay, none seen. And can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the ABC meeting held November 12th, 2024?
So approved, Anne.
And is there a seconder?
Seconded, Anna Lewis.
Thank you, Anna and Anne, and all in favor? Wonderful hands. Moving on, we have a presentation from Sherry Patterson from the Couch and Exhibition and the show manager for the Islands Agricultural Show. And apparently we may have a Taste of Alberni Valley welcome reception. It's very nice to see you, Sherry, and thanks for coming.
Thank you. So just to keep everybody in the loop, years ago, the Islands Agriculture Show was originally to move from community to community. We did make it to Alberni Valley 1 year, and the show was almost a great success, but we ran into a lot of snow. And we've been to Saanich, and we've also taken the show as far as Comox Valley. So what happens, the show is just, the Cowichan Valley itself is really most central for Vancouver Island. And we just found that the show was, the ability to be successful was best here. But through doing that, we've kind of lost touch with the other communities. So this is just a concept that I talked to Amy about a couple of years ago. And I thought, how can we get other communities involved in showcasing your communities? And one of the ways was through the welcome reception. So the welcome reception is a 2.5 hour event on the Friday as the show closes. And then we have, in the past, it's always been a taste of Cowichan. So we've had local chefs make local food and appetizers. We've brought in wineries and cideries and beer growing, whatever companies that we could put together here. So what I would like to do is propose that Alberni Valley take that on. And again, I want to go back to the very best welcome reception the show has ever had was in Alberni Valley. So I've always thought it would be really nice to bring Alberni Valley to the Islands Agriculture Show. It doesn't look like we're going to be moving the show anytime soon. I think it's just a weather thing. But I wanted to throw it out there as a concept. I don't have anything concrete, but we did have different catering companies come. We had breweries and everything here this year. So I wanted to offer it to Alberni Valley to see if it's something that you'd be interested in as an agricultural community. Anyone have any questions?
Are you anticipating this being an annual thing at the reception or 1 year focus on each different community or?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking is it would be, I would like to offer it to Alberni Valley for 2026. And if it's successful, we can move on and bring in invite other communities as well to showcase what they have, because everything in Alberni Valley seems to be a little bit different. You have different wineries, or I believe you have breweries. I'm not sure about wineries, but because of your aquaculture, you had local speakers come to the show. So yeah, it would be just on an annual basis. It would be something that Alberni Wood Valley could do in 2026 and perhaps Comox the following year and Couch in the following year. Really, as I said, it's just a concept. So I'm open to any suggestions.
Shari, it's Anna Lewis. It's really nice to see you. I didn't see you at the Island Ag Show this year, but I'm just trying to recall when we organized the event here. Now, is there funding through the Island Ag Show, or would it be up to like the ACRD, City of Port Alberni, like the Alberni producers to be footing the bill for that portion? I'm trying to remember how it works. So.
Right. I would suggest it would probably be funded by the community that is hosting the welcome reception.
And anticipating how many people, like 70?
I believe there's about 120 here this year. And that's usually what we count on. And now, one of the things that I've done at one point, we looked after, it was a no-host bar and we didn't charge for it, but we've kind of gone away from that. So there's wineries, they come in, they promote their own product and they sell their own product. So it's not that's not an expense to the ACRD. But I would suggest the food probably would be funded by the local regional direction.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Hi, Shari. My name's Tanya. I just had a couple of questions. One, would there be kitchen facilities nearby if there was interested caterers from out of town to do this event that they would have access to? And then if everybody on the committee is into this, I would suggest it would be not just the Alberni Valley, but Alberni Clayoquot Regional District to include the West.
Sure. Yes, there is. We have a great kitchen. And it's a full commercial kitchen. It's right in the hall.
Sherry, it's Pat Deacon. Hello. Clarity, did I hear 2026 or did you mean 2025?
No, 2026.
2026, okay.
2025, that show was last month.
Great.
Right.
I'm not a voting member of the committee, but I've just been listing out all of the possible contributors to our reception, and we've grown by leaps and bounds over the last few years. And I think it would be a phenomenal opportunity for the community to show what we have here in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Hey, Terry. Good to see you. So we finally made it, didn't we?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I know that since I've been on the ADC, that subcommittees really haven't been much of a thing, but with the committee being so large, it was in my mind that if something like this wanted to go ahead, this might be an opportunity for the committee to strike a subcommittee that would work on this project so that we weren't bound to, quarterly meetings or anything like that. Updates could be given from the subcommittee. It's just kind of a logistics thing in the background just to make it more doable, like with a small group of people that had a particular interest, stay and seeing this go ahead or something like that.
I think that's a great idea. And I also think Jolene from the Chamber of Commerce, if there was a subcommittee, if we decide to go ahead with it, that Jolene should be involved because she's expressed interest in similar things.
I think it's a fantastic idea, and I want to thank you for thinking of the Alberni Valley and our West Coast here as your first experiment. I think it'll be fantastic, and I think we'll be able to find some people who want to attend. In terms of how it goes forward with the committee, I guess I think maybe a subcommittee, and also identifying some partners who might be able to contribute financially to the need to support people. So I think that's really important, not to put the burden on the people who are going to travel over there through the snow and attend this stuff. So the chamber, the ACRD, and maybe we could approach the city of Alberni and the economic development office there. And I see Penny, I think, has something.
Thank you. I am also a non-voting member, but have sat on this committee in the past and have attended the Ag Show a few times. And I'm just wondering, is there an ability to actually charge for this event?
We've never charged for it. I don't know how well that would be received. The invitees are the delegates, dignitaries, and all of the exhibitors. Now, the exhibitors have already, it's included in their package that they get 2 invitations to the event. I don't feel that that's something we want to do.
Thanks, Heather. Sherry, do you have, when Cowichan hosted this, do you have the rough numbers of what it did cost them when they put on the reception?
So my bill for last year was $2,400 is what I paid to have the food prepared. In the past, it has not been that much. It has been closer to $1,700. I did get a couple of quotes. Some of them were as high as $3,000. The food services, now we have everything here. We have the kitchen here. It's not a fully stocked kitchen, so they would have to come somewhat prepared. But I do have a bar. I did rent wine glasses and beer mugs for the event. I did also bring in music. There was a local fellow who did the music, and that's something I'd be willing to entertain if we can make that part of Alberni Valley's presentation, that we could bring in somebody like that as well. I would say I can't see it being more than $3,000 maximum. And a lot of people that you might go to see about doing that would be happy to come down and promote their products as well. That's what I've found in the past, is, like I said, local wineries, and they come out and they do all the work. They get their license, they do it all. So, and I'm willing to be as helpful as possible to see this happen if you have any questions or anything like that as far as pulling the event together.
Thank you. So Sherry, as I recall, the kitchen was being used. There was people in there that were selling lunch.
Yes.
So would there be any kind of a conflict there?
No, what we've done in the past is shut the kitchen down an hour ahead of time. So it's no longer a concession. Then the next group comes in and does all their preparation in there. And we can work around that. We can definitely work around that. That's how I've done it in the past anyways.
All right, well, thanks very much. Are there any other questions or comments from anyone? I'm thinking that we probably have to talk a little bit more. Maybe people who are interested in subcommittees could get together. We can have conversation outside of the meeting, I suppose, as well. And then Sherry, maybe there may be some more questions for you in terms of, or requests about how the show could support or what they could provide, like the dishes and things like that. And then yeah, in terms also questions about the things like licenses and what people will need to in order to attend. So we'll have to decide as a committee how we move forward with that. But I want to thank you for coming and for making the offer. And from what I can hear here, it sounds like the answer is yes, with some caveats as to how we're going to make it work. So I see lots of nods. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for seeing this through. And, you know, once Alberni Claycock region decides, then I would like to be able to start promoting the show as being a Taste of Alberni Valley, or however you want that worded, with some logos and everything else. So we can add that right into our packages. So I think that would be really exciting. Thank you very much for having me. Have a wonderful day.
All right, thank you. Yeah, well, I'll be in touch soon. And I suppose Amy is the person in charge. So we're going to let Amy run with this. And if anyone has questions or suggestions, send them to her for the moment. All right. So why don't we take some names? Who would like to participate on a subcommittee to get this event underway? I see Anne Siddall, Anna Lewis. Did I see Tanya Shannon? I don't think you'd have to. No. You are a voting member. You're not? Oh. Confusion reigns. I think you'd be welcome to join. Yeah, anyone. And you could be you don't even have to be part of the committee, I think, if you're one of the people who want to go there with your treats. Yeah, and Jolene. So Star. Are there any other folks that would like to sit on it? Sarah, yay. Well, and you're not too late. If you change your mind or you want to step in later, contact Amy. But we have a good list of names for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I just wanted to mention one other thing. I believe the show dates for 2026 is February 7th and 8th, was it? Sorry, I don't have my 2026 calendar up. Sixth and 7th? Yes, 6th and 7th. It's the Friday, Saturday of February, first weekend in February. So I believe it's February 6th and 7th.
Okay, good point, and very good to know. Thank you.
Yes.
Just another thought, looking up at the screen and seeing Katie's face and Erica's name, and just thinking that hopefully we get somebody from the West Coast to maybe join in some conversations about the committee as well. All right, well, thank you, Sherry, and you're welcome to stay, or probably going off to, you know, not shovel snow, but maybe get rid of some flooding rain.
Finish off paperwork. Thanks, guys. It was nice to see everybody.
Okay, and moving on, we will, let's see, Amy sent out some correspondence for information. So there's the Clackwood Trust newsletter. And you can read through the list of these things on the agenda. And Amy's going to speak to them briefly. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to flag actually 2 of the info items. They're all fantastic. Highly recommend as usual. Take a read through. These are largely the reason, especially with quarterly meetings now instead of monthly, why your agenda is so long. So don't let it throw you. There's good information in there, and I always want to make sure it is included. But anyone who hasn't dealt with or heard of the Young Agrarians before, definitely give a look through the item number 7B. For their agreement creation services. It's a service that they provide. They do a lot of liaising between farm owners who maybe are getting out of the farming business or they have extra land, and then young people who can't afford to get into farming. So new entrants. So they do a lot of that. And this agreement creation services was a really cool concept, I thought. So I thought I would include it. And then there is, I don't know, I get excited about policy documents because that's the life that I live. But the Stewarding Agricultural Watercourses report has been put out by the BC Ministry of Agriculture and Food. And in the absence of the watershed security strategy, which hasn't been released yet, it's been on hold since 2023 from the Ministry of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship. I thought this was very interesting as kind of a step in the right direction sort of thing. Whether you agree with it or whether you don't, it is put out by the BC province. And so definitely worth a read if you're looking for an awesome policy document to while away your evening. And that was all that I had.
All right, thank you. Can we get a motion, please, that the Agricultural Development Committee receives items A to H for information? Tanya, do we have a seconder? And Sadell, and all approve, all in favor, lots of hands. Thank you very much. Motion passed. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to make a comment on the policy of the Ministry of Agriculture and Food. And when I read through it, I thought it was great in terms of its reach out and support of farmers and landowners. But there was reference to application processes and permitting or otherwise that makes me nervous because it wasn't very clear. It used a lot of lingo to sort of explain that without describing when that may take effect. And I'm thinking, Amy, your reference to the further work that's being undertaken is probably going to define that for us. So I would just suggest that we all keep in mind what is intended here and what the implications are for us as landowners. I know that like many of you, our own property is subject to many different water courses and ditches or otherwise. And we do a fine job of managing and looking after that without government interference. So just a bit of a heads up that things may be changing if we're not on the ball and don't provide input when it's possible with further policies that might be coming.
Thank you very much, Russell. And please feel free to jump in if people do have comments like that. And I will remember to leave space for that. Go ahead, Lisa.
Actually, ditching was brought up with the MLA office with District A. We did bring that up, saying that we needed to have that brought back because we have seen in the past an increase of fish fry in creeks when the ditches and creeks are maintained on a regular basis. So hopefully that will become an easier process as well. Thanks.
And just to Russell's point there, I guess, how do we as a committee stay apprised or maybe make a request that's coming up in Amy's report. So anyway, she's going to keep us apprised. And remember that this committee has a good opportunity to like send letters to the province and things like that. And we've got some bit of clout behind us. So that's one of the reasons that people are here. And I think it's probably one of the most important reasons. apart from, you know, celebrating and making sure we all keep doing what we're doing. Okay, moving on to number 8, request for decisions. I don't think there are any, are there? There are no requests for decisions. So number 9, reports, and I believe Amy's gonna speak more to that now.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, welcome to the ADC. It's so good to see everybody that returned and all the new faces. I just want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for agreeing to give your time to sit on this committee. And I know time is in short supply for everybody, so we really appreciate it coming together to make agriculture and food security better in the ACRD. Just to let everyone know who might not, a summary of my report will be included in the minutes, kind of shortened with links. So anytime I mention, oh, you can access this online, it's always linked in the minutes. So you don't have to worry about scribbling things down too much unless you like to do that. And far be it for me to stand in your way. So I was motioning at Heather there because the first item on my report is just some previous business from November. It had been brought up that it's the committee might want to put forward UBCM resolutions through the board for consideration. And so the UBCM resolution deadline is always June 15th. So if the committee would like to begin the discussion now, perhaps something that could be struck as like a resolution subcommittee to discuss ideas for resolutions or be the repository for people to send ideas for resolutions. Then we still have the April ADC meeting to actually go through the ideas that were brought up. That could be kind of the main focus of that meeting, to go through resolution ideas, discuss which ones actually want to be, maybe even discuss a draft, and which ones want to be brought forward to the board so that the deadline of June 15th is met. So just wanted to bring that up, give lots of time for discussion. And if that's something that is your jam and we wanted to strike a subcommittee that annually could look at potential UBCM resolutions, then that's always an option as well. So I've got 2 large projects that are ongoing. They come to an end, whether I like it or not, at the end of 2025, start of 2026. So time marches on. That's the agricultural water plan and the food security emergency plan. So both AAC and ADC members at this point should have received an email from me with a link to a rather broad survey that has been sent out to various community organizations that are involved in the food system. So that's food production, food processing, food distribution at some level. So that's a broad survey that is trying to canvass for kind of a broad reach. Then there's also going to be opportunities for in-depth interviews with some of the key players. And we're looking at another round of engagement in April. That'll be in person. So hopefully a consulting team will be coming. That round of engagement will be taken up with things like, for the agricultural water plan, there are site visits that have to happen. So we actually have members on the team that are water engineers. They need to see some of the infrastructure that's in question. And so that'll be taken up with things like that. But there's also going to be meetings with places like Tofino and Ucluelet for the food security emergency plan. The Coastal Foods Roundtable meeting is April 8th. So going to be attending that. And then liaising with some of the First Nations partners that are collaborating on the project as well. So in case you missed the survey, I'm going to have it in the minutes again. If you wanted to take it, literally no more than 10 to 15 minutes tops. If you leave your name and number, we are drawing for some prizes for entering that survey. So please consider filling one out. In case you haven't heard, the ACRD is undertaking comprehensive updates for all 6 official community plans and the Sproat Lake OCP, Sproat Lake and Area OCP, it has been named, is up and it has launched. So if you haven't checked it out yet, there is a Let's Connect page for it. It's at letsconnectacrd.ca/Sproat-Lake-OCP. Again, the link will be in there. And you can go there to do things like sign up for updates on the project and start engaging. So if you live in the Sproat Lake electoral area, or you have a particular interest in things that are happening, say you read through the Sproat Lake OCP as it stands now, everything's on our website, and you have an interest in engaging with the ACRD, you can go to that Let's Connect ACRD page, and you can start engaging and letting your feelings be known and start interacting with the OCP team. And there's also, if you mark your calendars, there's going to be a pop-up engagement event on that one in person at the Sayshot Market on February 26th from 4 to 7 p.m. So if you want to talk to the OCP team in person and actually ask questions and have a conversation, then head out to the market and buy some stuff while you're there. I'm just on ongoing projects again, working with Farm to School BC and the Alberni Valley Food Security Society. We got a grant from the TD Friends of the Foundation to do some plant installations at some established, but perhaps a little bit neglected or ongoing school gardens in SD70. So we're working with EJ Dunn, working with Bamfield Community School, and we're working with the 8th Ave Learning Center to get some more perennialized food plants and medicinal plants into their gardens. Super excited with how that one is coming together. And as we just heard from Sherry, the Islands Egg Show was January 31st and February 1st of this year. And I took the trade show booth and worked that event, and it was fantastic. I met the agriculture minister and representatives from other farmers institutes. There's lots of government and organizations from around the island that are involved with the Islands Egg Show. I generally use entries into my door prize draw as a broad metric of the number of people I talk to, and I reached 121 entries into the door prize draw, and there's lots of people that talk but don't enter. So it's a good opportunity. Usually I'm a bit more, but we had snow on the Friday and it scared a lot of people away that usually come from Victoria on the Saturday. So it was a little bit less, but it was still a busy show and it was really good. I saw lots of people there. So I wanted to give a bit of a monitoring update for winter cutworm, which was kind of rearing its head last fall, and there's been a couple articles done on it. I just wanted to give a bit of an update on that. I spoke with the Provincial Plant Health Lab last week, or the week before, and I followed up with them again because they are going to send some more traps. Because I had indications from the Farmers Institute had about 15 traps, 11 traps. So I did have a request for the Farmers Institute, if you could please dig out the traps, check for damage, see if any are damaged, and then get them cleaned up because they're going to be coming into circulation. They might have like cobwebs and stuff hanging around and in them. And then I'll be in touch with the other thing that I wanted to ask for was if the Farmers Institute and other organizations can start asking around for people that would be willing to set up traps, take the little info session on monitoring and start actually have the traps on their property and monitor them ongoing, count the number of moths and stuff like that. If they're interested in things like that, that would be great. I did request funding support from the province to help with like the trapping and the data collection, but I was turned down despite my persistence. So we're going to be depending on people that have a particular passion for this or willing to be volunteers to set up and maintain and monitor the traps and then send me the data so I can collate it into one big beautiful spreadsheet. The true armyworm monitoring. So when discussions about the winter cutworm, which is armyworm-like, but not true armyworm, which had an outbreak back in 2017, there were concerns about that brought up by people who had lived through that outbreak. And they're kind of like, well, what about this one as well? So the province is planning to send me pheromones for that trapping program as well. But that one begins a bit later in May because those do not overwinter here. So if they're going to hit, they have to be blown up from the US, and generally that doesn't happen until later on in the season. So the Plant Health Lab is down in the Lower Mainland, and they generally start monitoring in May, and we're a little bit further again from the States. So if we start monitoring in May, we should hit the sweet spot if there are going to be any that are blown up from the States. And stop me if I'm going too fast and you have any questions at any time. And then I just had a section in here on upcoming events. Again, everything will be in my report, but there is a small flock poultry health workshop being held on February 23rd from 9 to 4:30 at the Beaver Creek Community Hall, completely free. Lunch is provided. If you are interested in small flock production, it's being put on by the BC Poultry Health Network, and you can register on their website. And they also have an Ask a Poultry Veterinarian session tomorrow at 7 p.m. So if you do have a small flock and no access to a veterinarian, this is something that they provide for small flock owners that could be very useful if you just have questions, you actually want to ask a vet. Again, you can register on their website, the BC Poultry Health Network. There's a soils workshop, so kind of an intro to soils and soil management, February 28th, 1 to 3 p.m. at the Beaver Creek Community Hall. It's going to be a good workshop, completely free, no registration required. come one, come all, bring a friend and learn about soils. Soils are something definitely, if you're going to be raising crops or livestock, you want to know stuff about. So definitely recommend coming if you can. And then, so I'd mentioned the Sprout Lake OCP project, official community plan project, is underway. We're actually doing 2 official community plans at a time because we do have 6 to get through. So area C, which is out on the west coast, kind of Millstream, Port Albion area, that official community plan update is underway as well. And if anyone is out on the west coast, or if the west coast representatives, Erica and Katie, wanted to pass it on, there's an open house for that OCP, and it's going to be March 13th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Ucula Community Center. And I plan to be there. So that is it. If anyone doesn't have any questions, you can go on to the next person.
But are there any questions? Yes, go ahead, Russell.
Just a comment. I just want to really express my appreciation, Amy, for your involvement at the Ag Fair. And I get it, why it's situated in Cowichan in one place and not moving around. I think that is the best thing for the fair. But for us to have that booth there and have you there, and I know Pat Deacon, a shout out to you too, because you supported that in the very first fair, and I think we've done it ever since. I think it's a really good job that we do that. And kudos to those that are stepping up to help host the event, right? That will just build on promoting our valley and what we have going for us. So thank you, Amy, for that. And then bear with me, I have a funny story, although this is not a funny thing, about the cutworms. And I built a new barn, and for the very first time, I was very diligent at landscaping and flattening the land around it and seeding it before September. And the grass grew, and it grew up 6 inches high. And I was just so proud of myself until one day the grass was completely gone. And my little granddaughter, who's about to turn 3, would, while her parents did chores in that new barn, she had a little wheelbarrow, and she was picking through the earth and the dirt. And in that wheelbarrow, she filled it half full of cutworms. And they were just absolutely everywhere. So her grandma suggested that Ada, maybe we should give the cutworms a bath, which she agreed to. And that was the end of those few thousand cutworms that she picked. But I will be checking in with you, Amy, to get traps and be part of the program, because they really devastated things on our farm. And I certainly hope that's not going to be the case this spring. So thanks, Amy.
I guess I just have one question around so with the cutworm and then the true armyworm, like the monitoring, is there an overlap that's going to occur, and where are the extra, like how many extra traps are coming into the valley? Because I know I heard from a lot of people that they were interested in getting traps. So yeah, I just wondered.
What a great question. So I confirmed with the province that they're going to send 24 more traps. So with the 11 that we have from the Farmers Institute, I'm hoping it will be enough. The winter cutworm is going to be the focus, because that one is A, confirmed to be here, and B, we don't know anything about it because the literature is very scarce on it. So this is a fact-finding mission. We're not even sure when the moths start to emerge. They pupate in the early spring. No one can give me dates on when they actually pupate. So this is going to be more about the winter cutworm fact-finding than about the true armyworm. But we did want, while the traps were up, we know that true armyworm do get blown up. So we wanted to do the monitoring at the same time.
Because can you put the different pheromones inside one trap?
It will
They
be
have to be
separate.
separate?
That's a good question. It's separate traps, and it's actually not pheromones that are the winter cutworm. They are light traps. So the moths are intensely attracted, like more than moths usually are, and everybody knows about moths, but more than usual, those moths are highly reactive to light. So I'm actually researching just small self-contained lights that can be put in the traps to act as the attractant, because so little research has been done on the winter cutworm, even though it's been here since 1979 in North America, and it's everywhere across North America. There's no pheromones that exist for attracting the moths. So we'll do the light traps and we'll go from there.
Just another point on the true armyworms. When we are monitoring those, it's different in that they're out in those big pastures, whereas with winter cutworms, they've been in like urban areas. They're going after all different kinds of plants, so it's very different in that way too. And I just for the true armyworms, take some of the properties that we're doing the trapping in the past and use those, and they seem to be a pretty good gauge. Any other questions for Amy or comments? And thank you, Russell, for the story. Because
I got a question here. Can you
we
guys
have
hear me?
to speak, and Wayne has a question. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I think a lot of us farmers that are running cattle right now are pretty concerned about, what it could likely happen this year. So, we were blessed last year with an overabundance of hay. So, a lot of us are wondering about what our feed, we're already looking to next winter, what our food supply or feed supply is going to be. So we're trying to determine whether we should sell hay, buy hay or whatever. So just in case, we don't want to be caught short, as we go into the winter with suddenly no feed around. So I think we're kind of watching this one really closely to see what's likely to emerge here this spring. So.
Yeah, thanks. And we're not the only people struggling with hay, right? Everybody knows that. So maybe we need more hay. Get some more land and good hay around here. There's lots of land. I see Fred's hand up there. Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, I got an acre in my back someone can cut off of. With regard to the worms and stuff, do we know if they're planning on spraying again this year? Because that was a little bit controversial with the late notice last time they did that. And I know some people got upset, but maybe some preventative education in advance could help alleviate that if that is the future plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. That's a great point about the spraying for gypsy moth, or the spongy moth is the name that it's been given now. So that comes through Ministry of Forests, and I can check in with them about timelines if it would be useful to definitely get some verbiage out ahead. I'm not sure what their timeline is for letting people know ahead of time, but I seem to remember last year, you are correct, it was considered to be quite short notice, and so people were concerned. And I don't know of anyone, perhaps Lisa could speak to if there's anyone in the area that's planning to spray for winter cutworm, but it wasn't really on the docket for last year. It wasn't really something to be sprayed for, but maybe you have a comment on that.
No, it was so late in the year too, and a lot of people didn't think that they had it until they actually went and investigated. And so no, there was nothing that was recommended to be able to spray because it needs to stay dry as well. So once it rains, it's kind of useless. So it's pretty hard when we live in rainforest. So that's why, like Wayne says, there's big concern about this winter cutworm if it shows its head.
And that just reminds me, thank you for one more update. The province couldn't give me any update on the suspected pathogen that's moving through the population of winter cutworm. I tried to rear these things like 3 times and they all died on me. And from what I could find in the literature, it is really hard to rear them because they are naturally kept suppressed across the board kind of thing by some kind of natural pathogen that moves through the population and decimates it. And that's common in insects that do exhibit outbreak behavior. Something has to end the outbreak. And a lot of times it is some kind of bacterium or pathogen that moves through the population and crashes it, whether it's armyworm or grasshoppers or whatever. And so it seems like there is something going along. I have submitted samples to the Plant Health Lab. They have forwarded them onto the federal research station as well to study, but no word yet back on anything that they've been able to culture out and identify on that.
All right. And hopefully they don't like really cold weather because it was pretty cold on the ground for a long time. Moving on, let's go to City of Port Alberni, Pat.
Good afternoon and thank you. As I mentioned, I'm concerned about food safety, security, and supply. And so I will be applying a lens to that. Very curious to see the results of the survey that's going out and how we might amplify that, for consideration here in the regional district. We, because the SAN group sought creditor protection and put about 110 people out of work, we were given an opportunity to submit what they called an off-cycle REDIP application, forced impact transition. And they said you're not likely to get everything you ask for. So ask for a few different things of few different amounts. Two of the items that I submitted for consideration. One was an innovation hub, and it's primarily a plant and marine life innovation hub, and based around all of the processing that's going on in the Dock Plus, but also wanting to make sure that there's consideration for other cellulosic materials. But by way of example, we've been introduced to the fact that collagen from fish skin on the East Coast is fetching about 100 times the value of the fish itself. One of the things that we want to try and do is see if there's, and now they're extracting it from Atlantic cod. As best as they know, neither the lingcod or black cod or halibut are equivalent. But one of the things we'd like to do is take a look to see if there is a way we can increase the value of the things that we are processing here in the community and really step up a notch. The Dock Plus is serving really well as an incubator of businesses in the community. A few of them have outgrown it, and even though they're staying put for the time being, they are looking for bigger spaces with more current equipment and cheaper to run. So we'll be assisting in that. But another example is that crab and European green crab in particular, which is a very invasive species, has very high value in its shells for chitin and chitosan, which is used for pharmaceutical, nutraceutical purposes. So those are the kinds of things that we want to start addressing in an innovation hub. So determined to get it funded one way or another, but currently that's the best approach. I'd also like to give a shout out to Cascadia Seaweed. They currently they're extracting a liquid from the seaweed, and they're selling it primarily into the US. So I'm concerned about their market and looking for other opportunities. But one of the things that we did approach them about is they're left with a lot of material from extracting the liquid. And I had originally approached them with the idea that we would make that spent seaweed available to one of the agricultural groups in the community that could then turn it into a fundraiser, because we're hearing reports that everybody that's applying it to their garden is getting amazing results, Frankenstein results kind of thing. But they are really, really pleased with, and Anna, thanks for picking up the bulk of what's being done. They are looking for an opportunity to partner with a few of in the farm community that are feeding their stock just to see if there's an improvement in results there. So they are committed to working with the community. And again, the seaweed is one of the things that would go into an innovation center. And and I'm primarily focused around the Dock Plus because it's within the city's boundaries. And I'm at the same time, I'm wanting to be conscious that the the agricultural community has kept the community well fed for well over 100 years, 150 or 60 years. And so we'd like to try and make sure that where there's an opportunity for increasing the value of a product that any of you are using or working with or processing, please let me know, and we'll, put it into the hopper. And it'll just continue to build the argument for why we should have an innovation center here. Also, as I mentioned, the intent is to take us to the next level because there are some of the businesses that are in the Dock Plus are ready to move out, looking for bigger space. So, we want to try and accommodate that. And then the second piece that I think, bears on the work of the group here is that we're asking for funding for an economic development master plan. And we've indicated that the agricultural sector is one of the sectors that would get special attention in that, because we really are intent on diversifying the economy and making sure that when there's a break in the supply chain or an interruption in it, that we're becoming better prepared. So not nearly as fast or full as Amy in the presentation. Amy, when you were doing it, I was thinking, if we ever need anybody to be doing a commercial on radio or TV, you're the one. So thank you.
I'll just speak quickly to the Cascadia seaweed. Lisa and I met with their vice president a couple weeks ago, and I met him in person last week. He was actually here. So we're waiting on him from some of the information from past trials that they've done around agriculture feed. And he was like, oh, I've been meaning to email you, but hasn't yet. And so, but there is interest definitely in terms of doing the agricultural feed. And it's good. And I think this week's load of seaweed may end up at the 8th Avenue Learning Center with the land-based learning kids shoveling it out of the back of my truck.
Pat, I just thank you for considering agricultural things with your application to the REDIP, because I'm sure you could have picked any kind of economic development. So I appreciate that you thought of food stuff and the products that are here in the Valley. And just another idea for the innovation hub would be something like a fertilizer blend. So drying the seaweed, and there's things like feathers and fur, oyster shells. We have natural green sand deposits in the Valley, bone meal, things like that. All those products that are local that could be dried and then powdered and blended into a natural soil fertilizer would be a very good product to have. I would get some of that if I could. And I see Erica's hand up there. Go ahead, Erica. Or I did. Erica disappeared. No. Oh, maybe she's good. Maybe she just had a hand. Does anyone else have anything for Pat? All right, thanks.
Just before we move on, I did want, thanks Russell for the shout out. One of the very first things that I did in coming to the city's role as economic development manager, John Watson from the Comox Valley, Jeff Miller from the Cowichan Valley, and myself applied for an Island Agriculture Foundation grant to get the Island Ag Show started. And Sherry's right. We pushed to have the show moved around to different communities to showcase. And when you know it, the 1 year that we hosted it, we got an enormous amount of snow. And it was just like, Russell, you will also remember this, when we hosted the 2009 World Under 17 Hockey Challenge, we sold Hockey Canada on the fact that the island didn't get much snow in the winter, and we had several feet.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I was doing the catering for all the teams. I literally lived at Echo. I didn't leave for 10 days.
All right, thanks. Next, going to School District 70, Helen.
Thank you. Those are such fabulous reports. I just have to say that I always like, oh my gosh, I hope I do such a great job. So just update you on what's happening from my perspective with the school district. We haven't met as a board since November, so some of this is maybe but I'll just repeat. I'll make sure you're aware.
Helen, maybe just your mic itself.
Sorry. Thank you. We had our internal board elections, and we have the same, our chair, Pam Craig, is returning, and we have a new vice chair, Cynthia Orr, who is from the West Coast, so that's great news. We also have a new superintendent. Peter Claver is now in that role. We had some shuffling in our committees. I'm still very happy that I'm still representing the district on this committee. Our operational plan was presented in November. We always have policies out for consultation, so if you have any interest in see what those are, just go to the website, the School District 70 website, and you're able to submit any comments and on those, and we look at those and make any adjustments if necessary. We did pass a tree policy in November, so I'm happy about that. And the school data and all the school plans are available on each of the school district, each school's website if you're interested on what their goals are, and lots of data there if you like to read data. We have the property sale, the Craig Street, with a portion of Craig Street where the old Klitza is, that still belonged to the school district, and that recently was just sold to the Shot First Nations. It is part of a Truth and Reconciliation. There's a process that's undertaken, and I'm happy to say that that the ministry approved that, and that is happening. We had some issues with lead in the water at the schools. They've all been tested throughout the district, as well as our maintenance facilities, our board office, and everything. Any mitigating strategies have been taken care of, so we are up to date with all of our requirements, and the water's all safe and being looked after. Our SMART project is underway at the Bamfield Elementary School. There's a couple tree removal to reduce mitigate for if there's a fire and so on. We had our Indigenous Focus Education Day. The school district hosted on January the 20th. Really cool. I really enjoy going to these. We have one at the West Coast and then here in the Alberni Valley, and Bamfield came to our the Valley presentation, and it's a day of learning, Indigenous ways of learning, and just kind of opening up more communication, understanding, and working together with our rights holders. February 26th, next week is Pink Shirt Day, so get your pink shirts out. It's Black History Month this month of February. Our next public board meeting will be on February the 28th, and we have decided to move our board meetings back, our public meetings back to the board office. So we're not going to be traveling to all the schools for our meetings. There's a bit of a logistic issue and quality of communication and so on. So we're back at the board office. So if you do wish to attend in person, you'll know where we are. And if you want to attend virtually, that's always an option as well. And the minutes and the agendas are posted online. That's at the Pacific Rim School District website, not the school ones. They probably share some information, but there are different websites to go to. Kristen Nebsbit, because we have some new people here, she would be the person at the school district. She's our Healthy Schools manager. If you have you want a direct contact to see about running a program like the school gardens and so on. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with her, she's started, oh my goodness. When did she start? It's been a little while now, but she's a bit. In the spring, thank you. I was like, was it the summer? Yeah. Thank you. And Learning on the Land, I've mentioned that to some of the members. So in September, it took about a year to organize this new learning program for our students. It's Indigenous focused learning on the land. So we have 2 cohorts, one on the West Coast and one here on the Valley, 16 students each, and they learn on the land. So it's a completely different, I don't know about different, but it's a way to learn everything, math and science, and also harvesting and environmental stewardship on the land. And so our students have been really receptive. It's been a really positive experience for them. So that's just great to hear. So our first cohort is through. They just would finish in January, and I believe they're starting up with a new one on that. So I just wanted to boast about that because that's a great new initiative that we're doing to trying to increase our graduation rates and just the engagement of our students. I think that's it. Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead.
I have a question for the Learning on the Land. Are they, or how would somebody find out about engaging them in some kind of like, whether with agriculture or harvesting foods and things like that? Is that curriculum set, or are they looking for people to host students to come and learn?
I think they'd love to hear from people. So Dave Mar is the head of that program. So he would probably be who I'd reach out to, but you could also reach out to Kristen. Yeah, for sure. I think he's already engaging with different groups in the community.
If you speak directly to Sarah Williams, I've had the class come out twice to my place. I've done workshops with them. And Sarah is, because they're outside every single day, they are looking for things to do. And yes, I can pass on her information.
And do they work? Like, do they come and prune?
If you're looking for people to prune your fruit trees, I recommend Lonnie. There was just a pruning workshop. You could talk to her about it. They're happy to learn new skills of all sorts. So I'll send you Sarah's email.
Because if you prune off like a branch, you should prune to one that's like a third of the diameter at least. So you can measure them and like identify. Anyways, Penny, I saw you had your hand up.
Thank you. Just wondering if this is similar to the Musqueam Farm program that's running, if you know that, if it is. Thanks.
I'm sorry, I don't know that program.
Okay, thanks. And so reach out to Sarah Williams if anyone has a space to bring some kids to learn some stuff, which is great. Next we have Kaylee with Island Health, who is not here. And then Tom, Ministry of Agriculture and Food. And there you are. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Good to see everyone. I don't really have a lot to add. I want to flag our Islands Edition e-bulletin, which Amy circulates to a list of people, but I want to encourage everyone who hasn't signed up for that to do so. couple of other highlights. You heard about a poultry health workshop that's going to be at Beaver Creek. There will be a couple of other opportunities for those who can't make that. There are the 21st and 22nd, there are workshops in Coombs. And then at the end of March, there'll be another session up in Comox Valley, probably an evening session. We recently launched an educational video website. We're producing, the AgriService BC is producing educational videos on various topics, and I'll put the link in the chat, but a couple of things that might be of interest to some people would be robotic weeding. There's a series of videos on multiple different approaches to mechanized weeding or new innovations around that. And then, there's one on hedgerows. There's planting and designing of hedgerows for farms. Various other projects are highlighted. The discussion about the Islands Ag Show reminded me that our knowledge and technology transfer program will probably be opening for applications around the beginning of April, last week of March, beginning of April, somewhere in there. And some communities on the island have used this to put on farmer to farmer ag show type events. There was one in January at the South Island Farmers Institute. They put on 3 days of workshops, and that was supported through the KTTP. There was one up here in the Comox Valley a couple of years ago. So yes, the Island Ag Show is a great opportunity, and it's centrally located, but you could think about doing something in the Alberni Valley again too, as an addition for the more local producers. And islanders are notoriously reluctant to travel, especially in the winter. So that's a way to spread out the wealth of knowledge, as it were. One other thing I wanted to touch base on, there's a couple of beef producers in the room, right? Wayne and Lisa. And I've heard from some producers up in the Comox Valley that they're concerned about the rate of condemnation of livers when their beef go to slaughter. Is that something that is of concern to you, Wayne or Lisa?
I have not run across that at all, even though I've heard about it from some of the slaughterhouses and that, but personally, we have not seen any of that.
Okay, good to know. I'm just trying to get a better idea of how widespread this issue is. Yes, Lisa?
Yeah, no, ours look good and healthy. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe there's some geographic specificity to this. Okay, well, we're starting to dig in on this, and I just was curious if it was an issue down there too. That's all I have for today. Good to see everybody.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks for coming and sending us so much info directly. We appreciate it. Anybody have any questions for Tom? And does Anna, she's coming.
Yeah, hi, Tom. Just in terms of the TTP, the Transfer Knowledge Grant, what is the time frame in which those funds have to be utilized? Like for the one that's opening, would it be by the end of the next fiscal year, March 31st?
That's usually the timing, but I haven't seen anything specific yet.
Thanks.
All right, next up is the Alberni Farmers Institute. Wayne.
District A just had a meeting down in Coombs about 10 days ago. I was not able to attend. It was, I would like to have attended because we had a lot of really important things we had decided to talk about. So I would like to turn this over to Lisa and get her to give us a in-depth, even though I did read the minutes and it was great. Thanks.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Janet Tony from Coombs Farmers Institute actually instigated this meeting with middle area MLAs. So it was a great opportunity to come together with just a few people. I think there was a lot of good dialogue, a lot of good information, speaking with directly with farmers that are being affected by certain things. So the two main topics were the UBCM resolutions that had come forward. There's great concern over that kind of thing. We are compiling more information from that meeting to be able to give to the MLA. So we'll have that in the future, but we're still working on that. Janet we're sending emails back and forth amongst all the delegates that went. So hopefully we'll have that all collated and we'll probably be able to share that in the near future. Some of the things that we did talk about were very much the same things that the Farmers Institute did when we had our social, and we came up with 8 different items. The 3 UBCM items, concerns with BC Bill 31 Emergency Management Act, Federal Bill C-293 Pandemic Emergency Act. There's some items in there that people are concerned about. The Premise ID Intentions Paper, the Water Sustainabilities Act. There was quite a discussion with regards to that. Cleaning of ditches, maintaining creeks and stuff like that, getting the funding that there used to be. And again, having that small window of opportunity to be able to get into to do those creek improvements and stuff like that, because everybody has to do it at the same time, basically. So if you're not on it, then that gets missed. So that will be a big priority. And also to do with irrigation and people being cut off last year as well. So those items were brought forward to those members, as well as logistics. Josie Osborne had asked about logistics, and we said that was definitely something that island producers find. Anything to do with agriculture products, livestock, having priority boarding on the ferries and stuff like that, like we used to way back when, is definitely on the list as well. So anyways, once we get this collated from District Day or and those delegates, then I'm sure we'll be sharing it with everybody else. Thanks.
Was it just the MPs and MLAs, or was there like the opposition parties, like their agriculture critics? Were they invited?
It was just the Mid-Island representatives. So Brendan Day from Comox, Comox Courtney area. Josie was ours. Higginson. Higginson. And then there was 2 other ones that weren't able to attend. But we did hand out paperwork. I did give her a copy of the Alberni Farmers Institute, their 8 items, so that all of them had those particular items. So, and like I say, once we collate what was discussed at the meeting, then I'm sure we'll share those items with everybody else as well. Thanks.
Lisa, may I ask a question about the ferries? Is that for live and for?
Yes, all
slaughter?
agriculture products and livestock, because it used to be is if you, as everybody knows, when you're dealing with livestock, it doesn't always happen, you know? And so in the past, you drove up with your livestock, you went on the first ferry that came. For whatever reason, that seemed to kind of slip by the wayside. So if you have a flat tire or you've got some cranky animal that's not getting on the truck, if you end up going to the ferry and you're stuck in the summertime, well, now with animal welfare regulations and that, you're supposed to then, if you're stuck sitting on the tarmac, you're supposed to go and offload your livestock to get them watered and then back. And that's just so not impractical. So impractical. So again, and I do know the Vancouver Island Cattlemen have been discussing the issues as well. There's also issues with bringing feed over, like hay. Now it's seen as a hazardous product because it could catch fire. So it's supposed to all be tarped and wrapped or whatever. So all those kind of discussions have been brought forward. Thanks.
The biggest issue I've had has been with fresh poultry. So I'm not being able to get on non-reservable run when I was on Bowen with 200 birds in the truck on a long weekend, and you don't pick your slaughter date, right? So anyway.
Just some idea around that, because the UBCM resolution deadline was brought up earlier, and the committee could make resolutions. And that might be a really simple one to pick off, would be to craft some kind of resolution that they reinstall those priority boarding for agricultural producers as a UBCM resolution. I think we can do more than one, so that doesn't cancel out doing something that might take a bit more thought. But we could probably even make a motion around something like that right now and have direct staff to craft one if that is an issue that the committee feels they want to bring forward.
I can make motion towards that. Okay,
I'll second that.
All right, so we don't even have to say the motion, but what could a motion be that the staff prepare a resolution for UBCM to reinstall priority boarding for agricultural producers at BC Ferries, and maybe Kristen have a different wording that you could read back something. We already have a first and a seconder, so after we hear it back, we'll do an all in favor.
for livestock and agriculture products. Yeah.
Do you have something to add, Tanya?
I just have a question. If it's regarding the ferries, like I know that the deadline for UBCM resolutions is in June, but it has to go through the board first before June, correct? Would it make sense for it to go to AVICC first to have it come from the island? Director Cote.
Yeah, I can answer that. This resolution should have actually gone to AVICC first. That's how UBCM process likes it to go through. You've missed that opportunity, even though our convention isn't until April for AVICC. You could still bring a late resolution forward for AVICC. It's not an emergency, so they don't have to particularly accept it because it's not an emerging. But it could be brought forward as a late resolution. UBCM, I've also sat on that, and get it in as quick as you can.
Being someone new to the table, abbreviations, can you explain what AVICC is?
AVICC is one of 5 associations that make up all of UBCM, Union of British Columbia Municipalities. Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities is our area. I'm past president right now, and good chance I'll be past president again. I was president for 2 years. Thanks.
Just a question, Director Cote, do you happen to know the AVICC deadline for next year?
Oh, it was,
February 8th.
there we go.
Is that the same every year? Like the same every year?
No,
Okay.
we can't change it. We can adjust it a little bit. I think that we are giving a little bit more time. I think it's a little bit earlier this year because resolutions that come forward to AVICC get forwarded on to UBCM because we get their staff to take a look and make sure that things are what they should be, because it's supposed to go through our association to their association. So
Oh my gosh, the hands are everywhere. Go ahead, Tanya, and then Helen.
Thank you. That's kind of what I remembered how the process works. So then I would maybe amend that motion to put it in as a late motion to AVICC instead of going straight to UBCM.
Helen?
I just wanted to comment, Penny was mentioning that it's not emergent and might not be accepted. But if you were to add the caveat about global warming and like an environmental impact about the earth getting hotter, like if they're delayed at the tarmac, I mean, it's just that much hotter. So that might make it more of a emergent issue, I thought.
I'd also like to say that this is because it's a ferry. It's not a whole BC issue. It's an area issue. So UBCM may just kick it back to us anyways, to AVICC.
If that were the case, then what would AVICC do with it? What's the method then to get it passed by government?
This past year, we had, I think, 4 or 5 area resolutions that UBCM just kicks back to us. So the executive have taken a look and trying to see what they can do. It's not something that AVICC is, it's not the norm to have area resolutions dealt with. And UBCM is getting more stringent on what they're accepting and what they're kicking back. So I would definitely recommend that this goes to AVICC right off the bat. And you do have time after the AVICC convention to still put in a resolution to UBCM, which could go, which they'll say this is an area, but somebody could bring it up off the floor. Thanks.
All right, thanks. And there are other ferries, but maybe they're not BC ferries, like in the interior and that, I'm not sure. Yeah. Do you have the motion you could read to us?
Yes, that the Agricultural Development Committee asked the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors to submit a late resolution to the Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Association, is that what it is? To request priority boarding for agricultural producers on BC ferries. And I put to ensure the health and safety of their livestock, but we don't have to have that on there. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's not agricultural producers. It would be for livestock and agricultural products. Fred, I saw your hand up there for a second. Do you have something?
No, I agree with it. It's got to come to the board. We all have to discuss it before any resolutions get sent out, but it's a good first step. Thank you.
Okay, so we had a first and a seconder, all in favor? Lots of hands again. Thank you. That's kind of exciting. So we did something, got something going to government. Good. Good on y'all.
Heather, I have a suggestion.
Yes,
That
please.
subsequently you ask all your members of the District A to request the same of their local governments. And that you also follow up with the MLAs that you met with to inform them that you are doing this.
Excellent suggestion. Thank you, Russell.
One other thing. Bound and determined to get the timing right on this. I'm going to put a note in my calendar that this will be brought up again at the November EDC meeting to talk about resolutions to AVICC. They're going to get ahead of this one way or another. So mark your calendars.
I appreciate that, Amy. Thanks. Next on the agenda is the Alberni District Fall Fair, and
Okay, as I mentioned, I think when did we meet? November, December? November. This year's our 80th fair. So we want to do something special. I'm not quite sure what it is, but we've already filled our major attractions and starting our headline entertainers. The focus right now is replacing the Logger Sports climbing poles. Those are 80 feet from the ground. So they're rotten at the bottom. So they're getting taken down very shortly and we'll be replacing them. We've actually got the poles donated, which is nice. So now we have to figure out how to erect them. But it'll happen. It'll happen. We've got friends within the logging community. So we'll be finishing cladding the outside of the barn. We did 2 sides last year, so we'll get that finished this year, and we completed our little lean-to. So also be upgrading the outside lights that we turn on only during the fair, but there's some dark spots, so we want to make sure that we're upgrading there. So new vendor applications will be available on our website May the 1st, and our new and our 50/50 lottery will commence then as well. For the ag educational component, I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like yet, but in the early planning stages, but it will be a focus on food security and local food supply. So any ideas are more than welcome. That's all I have to say at this point. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to add a very brief addendum with everybody's okay here about what you were saying about the 80th year. May or may not be aware that Jake Van Kooten passed away recently. I don't know if everybody knows who Jake was. The guy who grew the giant pumpkins at one time was the world's record holder with a 1,700 pound pumpkin. I was fortunate enough to be the recipient of the last pumpkin Jake grew, harvested the seeds out of it, actually gave some back to his family, but he expressed the wish that we pass them on. Now there's not, I can't make a public place, like everybody come and get a free seed, but I was gonna put the word out in the agriculture community that anybody that was really serious, I actually gonna see it through, I could probably give them 2 or 3 seeds and hopefully have a giant pumpkin glass at the 80th
Okay.
Fall Fair
Be
in
good. That
Jake's memory.
That would be good because actually I'm working on a prize list book, so we could include that in.
Okay,
in that
well, that's
section
the,
there. So
that's
I'll
the-
talk to you more about it, so.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
What I should do before we put it out is take a couple of seeds and make sure that
There's
he,
still.
she assured me that, yeah, if you do that, they'll be fine, but we'll
Yeah.
germinate a couple anyway,
And
just to
check
see.
it out. Yeah.
But,
Cool.
I'd be interested in seeing that through if
Mhm.
it's something that could
Mhm.
fit there. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, well.
Yeah, we,
well, we
that's
should
it.
have
We'll do a
taken-
seed trial. Come and see me.
Yeah, yeah.
I have Wayne first and then Anna.
Hi, Ann. As you know, I'm the current president of the Alberni Valley Vintage Tractor Club. Of course, we have the top end of the lot there, and we've been doing
Yeah.
stuff there for a long time. You guys have
Uh-huh.
been supporting us. And, you know, we've noticed that over the last few years, you know, the fair has sort of moved away from being an agricultural sort of oriented thing, you know, so we'd like to kind of open more discussion with you on what we can do this coming fall. As you know, we used to have our thrash machine up there and we would actually thresh a bunch of stuff there, and it was a big draw for people that, you know, so our club unfortunately has gotten a lot older and nobody could pitch those sheaves into the booth. So we just thought it was more of a health risk, so we stopped doing it. But you know, thanks to some people around here, we managed to keep the thrashing machine. Everything is in perfect condition and waiting to go. And as it still turns out in what's going on right now, back to the young agrarians type of thing here, you know, we're getting a lot of younger people now interested in joining the club.
That
In
would
fact,
be
we've
good.
got about 5 or 6 new members are gonna be younger people that are actually looking at this older technology, something they can actually afford to do and actually fix. So we'd like to be able to expand, I guess, the agricultural component up there at the fair to be more, I think it's then, you know, especially in today's local thing, or I think we need to actually really expand the whole local thing about
Great.
what can be done here. So
Okay, so I'll be in touch and.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll
Yeah.
get you in touch with our agriculture, our attractions director. Any more questions?
Anna? Did you have- Okay. So, and who's the best pumpkin grower? That's,
Oh, it's a contest.
it's a contest, so the best pumpkin grower. All right, moving on to Anna at the Alberni Valley Food Security Society.
Yeah, I got excited because with Bob talking about seeds and when I was just doing, oh, what do I have to update from November? And so the first thing on my list was the CD Saturday event, which we held on in February, the first Saturday in February. And we had over 600 people. The vendors were sold out a month before. And we had 2 different talks were provided throughout the course of the day. And all in all, was a success. It was really fun. And so here's just a quick little story. We had someone from Saanich. So we hold our CD Saturday event the same weekend as Saanich does. And last year they were like, oh, I'd like to go to Port Alberni, but no, I should stay in Saanich. And they didn't have a good time. So they came to Port Alberni for the one we had. And he was like, I love this CD Saturday event. He's like, because this is that like grassroots. There's no, like, it's just primarily seeds with a couple, there was someone selling the sheep pellets and a few other things, but that's the main focus. And he just said it had a really nice community feel. And he was like, I'm going to talk it up to all the Saanich people. So I thought that was just great. So super excited about that. The event next year will be Saturday, February the 7th. So that is a conflict with the Island Agriculture Show, but not for the Friday night Port Alberni showcase at the Island Agriculture Show, but yeah, that date is unfortunate. Yeah, I just wrote the impact report, so I'm assuming I sent it out today to folks, so it can be in our next meetings. Exactly. So you'll get to see that at that point in time. We just held our annual pruning workshop on Sunday, so some people didn't make it due to snow. I guess that was out in Beaver Creek, and we have our ladder rental program going on. So for anyone that is like, well, my ladder really sucks, it's not very stable. So the person that does our prune along program, and he goes to people's homes, teaches them how to prune trees. He said to me, he said, you know, I'm really concerned about the state of people's ladders. Like, I'm at their place and I have a proper orchard ladder and they're getting on these things, which I'm worried. Like, so we decided we have these orchard ladders. So we decided that we would do a rental program, and we just had our first returned ladder today after they get it for a week. It's like $50 for the week. And they were so happy. They were like, this was awesome because I don't have space to have a 12-foot orchard ladder in my garage. But yeah, so that's something we're doing. And just so people know, it is out there and we're in the middle of our strategic planning process. So excited to have the amazing Teresa Kingston assisting us with that. We'll have our second session tomorrow. So yeah, I think we've got a lot of exciting things that will be coming to fruition, this upcoming year. And the other thing that we're doing is we're hosting, there's an annual meeting of all of the Island Health Food Hubs and dietitians. And I basically was voluntold, because I missed a meeting, that the Alberni Valley Food Security Society gets to host it this year. So that'll be in Port Alberni, April. Oh, it was Erica. I see her. Hey. Yeah. But she did an amazing job. She set the bar really high because Tofino hosted it last year. So that'll be April 29th and 30th. And so here's a request. If anyone knows of someone local, because the person I had in mind is actually away that day, that can do a 2 to 3 hour cultural safety workshop that is here, like as part of our new Channel Nations. If they have someone they can recommend to me, that would be awesome, because we're trying to pull that together, and just, I would like to keep it as local as possible. So that's a request to anyone that's here can send me a message saying, hey, so-and-so does it great. But the problem is it's short, right? 2 or 3 hours. And yeah, that's it. That's it for me. Any questions? Awesome. Pass it right along to my counterpart out on the coast, Eat West Coast, the one who, yeah, I'm volunteering. You're next.
I'm here for you, Anna. I got you. I will help you as much as I can, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'll get on it. I will try and help you, of course. I'm sorry, everyone. I was having internet problems earlier, but it seems to be all good. The reason I attempted to put my hand up was just to comment to Pat regarding economic development. We have a new economic development committee on the coast. That's Toquat Nation, Ukulithat government, and District of Ucluelet, and we are applying to REDIP for sorry, I'm on that committee, and we are applying to REDIP for also working on kind of a master plan for the south end of the West Coast Peninsula. And food keeps coming up, but it's kind of keeps getting pushed aside. So I hope I can connect with you, Pat, or with somebody working on that to talk a little bit more about how food is being part of it. If there's anything we can connect together and not, obviously we don't want to compete on the REDIP grant, but yeah, I think that would be really interesting. What else? Okay, a few more things from the Clayoquot Biosphere Trust. I know I brought this up for 2 years, but we are at 85% of our capital campaign to build a new Biosphere Center, and are intending to start building this spring. And the reason it's really important to this group is because a huge component is the new community kitchen. So it's going to be a very large, commercially regulated, like full-scale kitchen with intent on teaching and providing equipment for preservation and processing. So we have partnerships with, for example, already North Island College moving forward for education, with our Youth Warrior program for their seafood processing, and as well as the schools on the coast to look at how this could be a hub for school food programs. So I really hope now that we're actually like feeling like it's totally happening. I can't wait to connect more with the Doc Plus to see how in the Doc Plus evolution, as Pat talked about, we can maybe like act as a bit of a coastal satellite for that. There's going to be so many opportunities, and we'd like to reinvigorate the food equipment lending library, which was just brought up as well, like not ladders, but other things like that. So that's really exciting. And then a little bit of an offshoot of that is, okay, great, we're gonna have this great kitchen, but there's really a hunger to have a better food production demonstration on the coast. So we're also teaming up with the Fed Urban Agriculture Society in Victoria to establish a good demonstration garden that will go well with the kitchen. We haven't secured land yet, but so I mean, we have some conversations going about land to establish it on, but if anyone happens to get wind of a really great place that has cleared land that could support some growing on the coast, don't hesitate to let me know. A couple more things is Island Health. I don't think, yeah, sorry, I was kind of dropped out for a minute there, but I work with Kaylee with Island Health, and there's been a lot of changes to the Department of Population and Public Health in a really positive way for food. So they have all these new community health promoter positions, as well as a brand new position that is going to be managing food programs, specifically food and nutrition. So that's really exciting. I'm not really sure where things are going to go, but like we'll probably Anna and I will find out more when we meet in April. But they're really saying that food is really important, and they're putting some people behind it. And then finally, the Clackahoe Biosphere Trust grants are open. We have a regular stream of grants that are open until February 28th, up to $6,000. And then we also have our Vital grants, which is I think February. So you submit a letter of interest, which is really easy to do. You just tell us what you want to do, and then as long as it aligns with the program, we give you $500 to actually do the application, which won't be due till April. And I just wanted to bring up a couple items that have been maybe a bit of confusion in the past, which is, first of all, yes, it is intended to be for the West Coast and the Clackahoe Biosphere region. We have funded groups that are in Alberni that are doing work on the coast. So just because you're based in Alberni, if you are working on the coast, then you could still be eligible. And second of all, we've changed some of our policies around eligibility for the grants. So in the past, you would have had to be a registered charity or qualified donee. And now that's not necessarily the case. If you're not a qualified donee, like for example, you're a nation without that designation, or you are a nonprofit, you could still be eligible for the grants. So I just wanted to share that with everyone, because this is a great way to get food security related projects up and running in our region. And I think that's it. Other than that, I'm really excited about the survey, Amy. Like, I can't wait to see. I've been trying to share it as much as I can. I haven't filled it out yet, but I've been sharing it as much as I can, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it, because I feel like our governments on the coast are really just not committing, and I can't wait to be more involved in this whole project. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Erica. Does anyone have a question or comment for Erica? Pat?
Erica, I will follow up on the ag sector as a part of your economic development master plan or strategic plan. And then the talk about the food hub meeting reminded me. Earlier today, I had a conversation with my counterparts in Quesnel and Salmon Arm. And we've been asked to do a food hub presentation at the BC Economic Development Association meeting in May. And what is neat about the invitation is Quesnel's food hub is owned by the municipality. Salmon Arms is owned by a nonprofit society, and ours, although we found the first $750,000 for the food hub, and it was actually came out of an ag development committee meeting that I learned about the grant, but it's owned by the Port Authorities. So 3 different models, 3 different approaches, all based on their community sectors and interests.
Amazing. Can't wait to hear more.
Thanks, Pat. And Erica, that garden up on Lone Cone Road, I know has been put forward. You probably already know that, but there's drawings and everything for that.
We just did a delegation around that specific project last week with the District of Tofino. It is very up in the air. So I'll fill you in as soon as we have more details, but they are putting it back out there again.
All right, great, thanks. Okay, so this is the first time this has happened, but I think it's a great idea because I agree. I had a request for a bio break. 5-minute bio break. It was the longer meetings, we have lunch. It could be a little nap. Can we do that? I guess that's allowed. Okay, so we'll come back at 2:43 and a little break. I don't know, get some water, have a nap, have a stretch. Okay, it is actually already 2:43. So migration to chairs. Okay, we're gonna start up again. Gosh, that's fast, but good, right? Okay, so we're moving on to Nishanla Tribal Council. Jenna's not here today, so Spirit Square Farmers Market, Sarah.
Hello. So the last report came from, what's her name? Claire, who is no longer on the board. She's moved on to a different position. We had our AGM in December. There was a change on the board. I'm now the president, and Teresa O'Neill, who was the president, market manager, also managed the coupon program, has taken a well-meaning break from all three positions that were all pretty much volunteer. And we've broken them hopefully into three different roles because I'm not doing all three. So we had our 3 Christmas at the markets this year, which were less busy than previous years, but I think it was just because the valley was inundated with markets. In my opinion, it's also an outside market, so I get not wanting to come down when it's cold, but it was a warmer year than previous. Other things that happen at our markets, I'm not sure if you're all aware of the BC Farmers Market Nutrition Coupon Program. This is a program by the provincial government that distributes, it's actually run by the BC Farmers Market Association. And weekly for 16 weeks, there are coupons distributed to individuals with food security issues or expectant and recently given birth mothers, seniors, people with mental health issues. 16 weeks, they get $27 a week in coupons to spend directly at BC Farmers Markets. We are the only member of the BC Farmer Market Association in town, so we're the only place in town that those coupons can be spent. This year, $36,000 was spent at our market. That is approximately 60% of what was distributed, which is roughly the redemption rate across the province. So our market is very crucial to this program and for getting food directly from farmers to the recipients. The coupons can only be used for meat, vegetables, any fresh produce, eggs, nuts, not baked goods, not preserves, literally fresh food from farmers to people, plants, food-bearing plants. So we are super supportive of that program and are thrilled to have bringing that food to the community. On that note, we have had a few recent struggles. One being the city, we're in rent lease negotiations with the city at the moment, trying to double our rent. So we're talking to them about that. We've also had the parking behind the Port Boathouse reduced by 50%, which is where vendors park. And the parking along the railway, which I understand was a safety issue, also reduced. So the parking availability down at the Harbor Quay has become a very serious issue, especially as you can expect for people that have just given birth. Walking a great distance might be uncomfortable and or not doable to be able to find parking. We have lots of people that have mobility issues, so there's not a great amount of handicap parking down at the Harbor Quay either. So those are things that concern us currently. We run a music program in the summer where we provide live entertainment to the community, and it becomes kind of a social thing for a lot of people come down to the market during the summer months. We applied for funding through the city for that and were turned down. So we are looking for different avenues for funding. We, as a market, have funded that every year. We used to get a grant through the city and now we don't. There is a tent provided, which is wonderful. So we're looking for funding options for that. Yeah, we are looking to expand partnerships for the coupon program. Our current community partners are Island Health, Canadian Mental Health Association, Sage Haven, the Friendship Center. We're talking with the Healthy Schools program to see if we can get them tied into the program so that the families that maybe are the backyard, the backpack recipients, the backpack program, maybe during the summer to get food to people that have food issues that they've identified through the schools program. So that's exciting. And that's pretty much it. We have 34 members of the farmers market. And of course, we have drop-ins in addition to that. And as a side note, as a member of the BC Farmers Market Association, we are required to have 51% of our vendors be food producers. So that is something we are very focused on, and keeping our table fees and membership rates low so that we can attract new farmers, food providers, value-added food producers as well. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question for you. Just clarification around to become a community partner for the coupon program, because I know of like the Port Alberta Diabetes Association, they applied last year, but they don't apply to you guys. They applied directly to the BC Farmers Market and they were denied, right? So the BC Farmers Market, they only have so much money that they're going to allocate. So I would just be a little bit cautious about how many community partners you look for when there's already people that would like to be a part of the coupon program in the Valley that have been turned down. So I think it would be amazing because I talked to Peter, the one who runs the farmers market program, and I was like, but what about these people? And what about so it's just that's more like they only get so much money from the province, and so let's just encourage the province to give more money into the program as well.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, the Farmers Market Association has put out vendor surveys and also links to lobby the government to continue ADA's support, because they haven't received funding yet for the program, to receive support and tell them how valuable the program is as a producer, as a recipient, etc.
Is it?
So on that note, would it be helpful if the ADC and the ACRD perhaps wrote a letter in support of this program? I can say myself as a producer that it has absolutely increased my sales at the market, which has motivated me to continue to attend and produce more, get more involved.
Yes, a letter would be amazing. I can provide information for that as well. You should have received the vendor survey.
No, but
Okay,
maybe I need.
all right.
Yeah.
I'll
Send
make
it
sure you
along.
get that too.
So I would like to make a motion that the ACRD send a letter of support for the farmers market nutrition coupon program. Noting its benefit to the community, agricultural producers, and encouraging them to increase spending to support more farmers and people in need of support with healthy foods. How's that?
I'll second that.
Oh, I just want one suggestion. Would it be possible to amend the motion, a suggestion, to make it not from the ACRD, which indicates like board or staff approval, but from the ADC, from you guys, to indicate it's coming from the committee?
I think we should get the board of directors on board, but yeah. How about the ADC? And then that letter, you could also go to the board and perhaps get their endorsement if that means more. I don't know what means most, but let's get it from the
More
ADC to
is
begin
better.
with, and then see what happens from there.
Heather, I was going to suggest that it come from the ADC, but also that you copy the city of Port Alberni And you also, subtly make reference to the importance and value of the farmers market and being a viable entity and how it is helping food security within our valley. And maybe that might help you in your negotiations with the city at the same time. So coming from the ADC would be the appropriate thing.
Great point. So yes, subtly copy the city, or do we write another letter to the city saying, please support this market, don't raise their rent and give them more money for
I think what you're doing is, as an ADC, you have broad representation of expertise and professionals in the field that are providing advice. The farmers market then does the negotiating or uses that information with the city in their negotiations, right? You don't insert yourself as the negotiator or slapping the hands of the city for not doing the right thing, but you are the experts that are helping to provide the advice that you can then use in your negotiations.
Thanks. And yes, saying how much it means to the committee is really important that everybody should know. And I'll just say, everybody watching out there in YouTube land, if there is in fact anybody here, like, wow, don't we learn how to do things? Thanks, Russell. Right? There's a way to make things happen. So do you want to read back the motion for us? Do you have something there? Erica, go ahead with your question.
I just would really love to continue this conversation outside of this meeting, and connect with you more about the markets and in particular the coupon program, because I ran the farmers market stall here on the coast for about 4 or 5 years. We had to shut down during COVID for a couple reasons because they limited the number of people allowed to attend to the booth. And also the offshore communities shut down our ability to go there. So we were losing money terribly, but it is of such importance to get affordable food to people. It really mattered. Katie and I have had a recent great conversation about how we can revive this farmers market. And at that time, we were in discussions with the farmers market coupon program about our unique situation that, okay, the 51% doesn't count for our public markets. But when you look at the number of farmers and local growers who were able to sell their products through that stand, it really was like just a huge benefit to them and to our community. And we also hear reports constantly about people who receive the coupons through services in Alberni, but then they're here on the coast and there's nowhere to use them. So like, how can we really blow up this model that the coupon program has to understand how it needs to adapt to local circumstances and contexts? So I'd really love to talk about this more. How can we do more to support it? And there's one more thing. What was it? Anyway, yeah. This is a big issue. I'd love to see something happen. And if we want to do a big blast around support of the program, I think it would be incredibly easy for me to help coordinate getting more letters of support from the coast, because this served multiple communities, multiple organizations, yeah, it would be no problem. So let me know. I'd be happy to coordinate that.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Erica. And yeah, continuing to look at ways to get those accessible out there would be great. Any chance you have a motion?
Yes, I do. And add to the ending, there was a bit of back and forth there, but I just wrote that the Agricultural Development Committee write a letter of support to the BC Farmers Market Association requesting increased support and funding for the Farmers Market Nutrition Coupon Program. Do you want to add
I believe
anything?
the letter would be to the province. I'll get
the
you the right,
province?
yeah, I'll get you the right information.
Okay.
Do we want to note in there, or I guess within the letter we would be noting, so it doesn't have to be in the motion, but how, okay. And Pat, did you have something?
Just that the city's process for letters of support now is that they're asking the applicant to come to normally a committee of the whole meeting and as a delegation and explain what it is that you're doing and the request that you're making. And because it gives counselors an opportunity to ask questions, and they're wanting to be more engaged in understanding both the request and the intent of the letter.
More amazing information for everybody watching on YouTube and in the room today. If you have a request for the city, thank you, Pat. And it's great that they're talking to people. I think I made the motion, right? I made the motion. Do we have a seconder for the motion? No? Okay, I cannot make that motion, but the motion is
I will make the motion, seeing as I'm a.
So we have Anna with the motion. Do we have a seconder? I'll take Bob Collins. All in favor? Thank you for all the hands. So motion passed. Great. More progress, more things, right? Next we have Port Alberni Port Authority, the dock, and Cecilia's not here. Do we have anything from her? I do not think so. And then next is Katie with the Coastal Foods Roundtable. Go ahead, Katie.
All right, so I get to talk on a lot of different sides of the food world over here. So one part that I'll start with, Tofino Community Food Initiative. So what we've got going on right now, we're going to be running our Learn to Grow course called Growing West Coast Gardeners. Again, it's only the second time we've ever run it. It'll be 4 full-day courses from April to September to support people through the whole season there. So we're really looking forward to that. We have 10 people signed up right now, and thanks to funding from the ACRD, the Clayoquot Biosphere Trust, and the District of Tofino, we were able to offer it on a sliding scale. So people could pay as low as $150 for the course, and it comes with materials and everything. And that is allowing TCFI to not lose money on it. So it's very exciting, and we're really grateful for that accessible funding. And we were able to give one person like a full bursary who couldn't, the sliding scale wasn't even enough. So that's great. We're excited about that. Also at the Food Forest, which is where we run our programs in the Wickaninnish Community School in Tofino, the elementary school. We're working on a bit of a 2-year plan to make the Food Forest a bit more productive and more practical for the space, for the kids, for actually growing food. And some of that is going to involve taking some trees out that are too large of varieties, and we really should have dwarf varieties in. So Connie Kuramato is one of the main kind of pruner fruit true people that TCFI board members talk to, but we've got lots of great folks around helping with that, and we'll probably have more of the espalier fruit set up. So that's kind of a 2-year plan, and we'll apply for some funding and work with the school and the district to see what kind of infrastructure could be increased. We did just have to take down one of our small little greenhouses last week because the wind and the snow had just damaged it too much. So we're down a little bit of greenhouse, which is disappointing because they're just doing great things in the greenhouse. The elementary school kids with Paula, who's a TCFI staff member, she's the garden coordinator. And she works with the kids, and they've been growing about 6 different types of microgreens through January and February that they're eating, fresh food. They planted radishes in the fall in hanging baskets and pulled the first ones last week. Really nice. And they take them to chef, and it's all exciting. So we're really happy about that. We've been waiting on having an MOU with SD70 for a while to make sure that everything, the relationship between TCFI and SD70 and specifically maintenance, safety of the garden, just so that it's all really worked out and, you know, access to water, all those things. And that's going really well. It's not finished yet, but I'm just grateful for everyone who's put effort into that and the support from SD70. Something else TCFI is applying for some grants and getting excited about putting energy into right now is expanding like our seed saving network on the coast. It's a bit of a passion project of some of the board members and myself. We don't have a mini seed library in Tofino. Someone, Erica, helped me figure out that just member of the public did apply to create one with a grant somewhere in Ucluelet last year. So I'm going to start wandering around to find that person. Haven't seen it yet, but we're going to try to expand having good seeds in TCFI branded packets that have the information and just like really focus on the seeds that work for people here. That's what TCFI is always trying to do, like set people up for success out here. And on that note, we're going to have our Seedy Sunday. It's April 27th. It is a Sunday. We are going to have seeds, but we would love to have seedlings because seedlings often work a lot better out here for people. So I know Heather already got in touch with me, but if anyone is interested in growing a tray of seedlings for us that we could purchase from you or that you would donate to us, I'll be coming through Port Alberni and be so delighted. So if anyone wants to talk to me more about that, we can do that and it would be wonderful. Or in fact, if anyone wants to come vend, let's get in touch. Other updates that are not TCFI related, I've heard a little bit about 2 new farming projects in the Ucluelet area starting this spring and summer. One is between a friend of mine who used to run City Beat Farm, a successful urban farm in Vancouver. And she's just been connected with someone who has land out at Atatsu Bay, who wanted to support a farming project. I think it'll mostly be flowers and a few vegetables, but that she's planning to be bringing to market, selling in community. So that's excited. And then Zoe Jordan, who works for the Ucluelet First Nation, actually in their new garden, her and her partner at their land in Atatsu Bay are also planning to start a farm this summer. They both have farming experience, several years. So I'm excited to see what kind of scale these people are thinking of and what sales avenues they're thinking of, but it's just good news. More good news, the Ucluelet Elementary School and the Howsett School have both received grants. I don't have too many details, unfortunately, but both have received grants for revitalizing their school gardens. So we're going to be seeing, I think, some job postings soon that will make things more clear. And I just need to go over and talk to the folks at the Ucluelet Elementary School. They have a really strong parent group around their garden. So that's who would have applied for that and is making that happen. Good news all around. And then, of course, we just have our local producers. Nice Nursery is a microgreen grower. Louise of Tofino Farms, microgreen growing and selling through the Tofino Ucluelet Culinary Guild. So I think most of you are probably familiar with the guild, but the guild is feeling even more pressure from the public to have, of course, BC grown food. Like that is the mission of the guild. And in the summer, of course, we have so much amazing stuff. A lot comes up from Port Alberni, Shelter Farm and forgive me, but many, I know a lot of you have sold to the guild before, but I know they're really looking for any way to expand what they can sell in the winter and the shoulder seasons from local producers. So if anyone, if that is interesting to anyone, get in touch with Tofino Ucluelet Culinary Guild. You could send an email to info@Tofino Ucluelet Culinary Guild. They do crop planning with a lot of the main farmers that supply the guild. And maybe there's an opportunity that would sound exciting. So that's almost going to conclude from those kind of community updates. And then on the side of the Coastal Foods Roundtable, we're going to be having our next meeting. It's in Tofino. It's at the Tourism Tofino meeting room. It's on the 8th of April. We'll be looking forward to seeing Amy there and Ione from Upland Agricultural. So we are continuing to talk about the emergency food security planning out here for the coast, and then just getting updates of what's going on with our coastal producers. And I think that there's been a lot of movement since our last meeting. Some that's been positive and some that's maybe like people are pushing for things and feeling like it's falling on deaf ears. So it will be just a great time to get together again and see how can we, as you were saying, Heather, like how do we make things happen? So does anyone have any questions for me? Probably not. It's probably just a little bit of like interesting info coming out from the coast. We are doing all sorts of stuff out here. So it's always nice to hear what you all are up to as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. And I just want to say, well, thank you for coming, but also just so everybody's aware, part of the reason that like the coast and the Alberni Valley do kind of have we're separate geographically. There's different communities growing different things, different scales and all that, but it's always been really important from the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District perspective that that the agriculture and food like really encompasses the whole region. And so just so that everybody in this committee knows, that's why the West Coast is part of this. And it really is important. And of course, there's lots of opportunities out there as well. Like the Culinary Guild is a great delivery space, and they have like high-end restaurants and 1 million tourists every year. So there's more people at the table, and they might be talking about something that feels a little far away to you, but it really is one region. And so just keep that in mind. I appreciate you guys being here. Myself. And if there's no questions for Katie, then the last of the organizations would be 4-H. Patty.
Okay, I just want to begin by saying that it's totally amazing the amount of stuff that's coming out of this group. I really enjoyed being part of it last year as well, and I can tell you there's going to be a lot of 4-H meetings this year when I'm going to need guest speakers, and I'm going to be hitting up a lot of people in this room. So we're really looking at 4-H this year, 2025, as being a rebuilding year in Port Alberni and the Alberni Valley. There's been just a lot of issues, and we're sort of starting from square one, I guess, if you will. We have one club this year, the Alberni Valley Clover Patch. We've gone back to the Clover Patch Club, which was in existence for many years. We have 21 members signed up so far who are between the ages of 6 and 19. We have 8 members doing a beef project. We have 3 doing rabbit, 2 doing KV, which are guinea pigs for those that don't know, 2 doing dog, and then 7 of the clover buds, which are the little 6 to 8-year-olds. And we have 8 registered leaders so far, 1 screened volunteer, and 3 more pending. So we've started our monthly business meetings. There's actually going to be a meeting tonight where the club will be electing their executive, because with 4-H, the whole model is that the members actually run the meeting. So they'll be electing their president, who will be running the meeting starting tonight with help from the leaders. Port Alberni is going to be hosting the regional 4-H judging rally here in June. So that includes all of Vancouver Island and Powell River. We're just in the planning stages of that. We're talking about a manure fundraiser for April and have already had some discussions with Anna about the possibility of some of this seaweed product as well. So maybe doing seaweed as well. And really, I think our big goals for this year are to get all the members really involved and feeling like they're part of the club and part of the broader 4-H organization, and also getting all our leaders trained and ready so that next year we can offer even more projects. It'd be really nice to get back to some of the non-livestock projects. Things like we've been talking with Anna about horticulture. We've got somebody maybe interested in doing the outdoor living project, just to get some of the other members in that maybe don't have livestock at home, want to learn about it, but parents aren't willing to put a bunch of chickens in the backyard kind of thing. 4-H is so much more than just agriculture. It's really a leadership development program. So we're hoping to get a really strong foundation this year and then build on that in the years to come. Registration is going to close on February 28th. We found that if we allow registration to continue through the year, it really takes away from everything because you're trying to catch up. And it's really hard for, especially the younger members that have never been in 4-H, to catch up if they've missed half a year. So registration's ending the end of next week. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you. The meeting tonight's actually in the basement of the Alberni Valley Christian Reformed Church at the foot of Roger Street. We weren't able to use Cherry Creek Hall this year because they have a conflict. There's another group meeting on Tuesday nights.
Sorry, I have to roll my rides here in that.
Patty, what time? What time's the meeting?
The meeting's at 6:30.
6:30.
I'll be there at 6 o'clock, but doors will open at 6, but the meeting's from 6:30 till 7:30.
Okay.
And if there are interested members, I've had a bunch of emails in the last week. We're just telling everybody, even if you're not registered tonight, you're more than welcome to come.
And the only other thing I was wondering for people that might be online or wondering is if someone is interested in registering, is there a website or email address that they can email?
The best website to use is the BC 4-H, which is 4hbc.ca, I think. Anyway, it's online. My email address is out there as well. There's a Facebook page, Alberni Valley 4-H, and all the contact information's on there. Thank you.
I just have one. Has Bob and Ann Collins informed you of the Sheep to Shawl event that they're hosting at Arrowvale, in which they want all the 4-H kiddos to help with? That might, maybe Ann Collins, I can tell she has not let you know. Okay,
I'll talk tonight though, because their
It's in-
grandchildren are in the club and they'll be
exactly,
there.
and
Yeah.
that's what Ann said.
Thank you.
No, if none of the 4-H kids come, well, my grandkids will be the 4-H reps. But it's a whole Sheep to Shawl event. It's gonna be May I think the 5th. I just wrote an article for Valley Vibe and I put it in there. But I just left my papers beside my desk at home, so. But it's a really odd, they're bringing someone in to shear the sheep and do a whole skirting event and have people spinning and weaving, so. And Bob ran away, but anyways, it'll be good. Ask Ann or ask the grandkids.
And I'd like to invite one of your kids to our meetings, because wouldn't that be fun for them? Isn't it fun? Kids getting involved in agricultural governance or something, like super fun. Tell them there's lunch.
They would think it was fun because they'd miss school.
Well, true. And I don't think it would be as much fun for like the 6 or 8, but maybe if you do have older kids, I think it'd be great to have some youth at the table. So I'll extend the benefit of lunch of my prerogative. That is the last of our organizations. We'll open it up for marine producers, which I don't think there are any here, and then any other updates from primary agricultural producers. And thanks everyone for your patience. Aren't these meetings productive? And let's hear, this is where we get to the good stuff, because we got to hear what the farmers have to say, right? So let's hear. Tanya?
I'll go first. I have a list. So I would like to say that I'm really appreciative that we changed our ADC meetings to this format and that the AAC members are here, just to have more ears at the table and more input. I think that's fantastic. Um, Bob just left, but I was gonna tell him, we have like a family slash staff farm pumpkin growing contest every year. And Tally and I have won the last 3 years, so I want some seeds. So I was gonna start with the bomb cyclone that we had the end of November. In our area. I mean, I know I won't speak for other farms. I know there was damages, but we had to put some tin roofing back down because it lifted up with the winds. One of the neighbors had a anemometer, like to read the wind, and it was like 152 kilometers an hour out where we were. And the guys did a walk around the whole property, and they figure we're down about 1,000 trees that we're going to be cleaning up and dealing with over the next few years. No animals got hurt aside from my father-in-law has a little fish hatchery. We lost some fish because water lines got plugged with cedar boughs and everything that was coming down from the hill and everything. But other than that, everybody was okay. It's messy. And then going into, I'll keep it short because we're going later. We're doing our gather and graze dinner again on the farm. This is our 3rd year doing it. We're doing it August 15th and 16th. And for anybody that doesn't know, it's been a sit down, like formal dinner that we've done at the cabin to highlight and support like local agriculture producers and seafood in the valley and the West Coast. And from past attendees, I have a wait list going for the Saturday night and currently about 6 spaces on the Friday night, which is really exciting. So that's really been a hit, and we've been asked like, can you do more weekends? And no, we're not doing more weekends. Excuse me, we're keeping it to one. But it's been a great event and it's been a lot of fun. I've secured my beef from Lisa last summer already to make sure I had enough for this summer again. Because with some things, with like our limited producers that we have in the valley, you got to be planning and organized. And I've already been in contact with some people that I've worked with before. Just as they're planting their seeds and planting to prep for the dinner again this year. So it's really exciting. And then I think the only other thing that I wanted to bring up was, and I keep harping on this and my persistence, I'm hoping is going to eventually pay off here. This committee has worked on agriculture updates to bylaw for years, and the zoning bylaw update did not get passed by the board. The decision was to do the OCPs first. So that's a few years where the agriculture updates will be pushed back to. And when this committee found out that that wasn't going to happen, we had asked, could just the agriculture stuff go through? Because the updates, a lot of the updates from the agriculture part will make less red tape at the local level here for a lot of opportunities in the valley. And was it a committee of the whole meeting, I believe, recently? And it was decided that no, that could not happen. There's staff restraints, budget restraints, OCPs are happening first. So there's a lot of things in there that I think that, I mean, that we all know that would be really beneficial for local agriculture. But I just want to focus on one right now, and I'm hoping if we can discuss or have any ideas of how we can maybe take little bites of this at a time, so we're not waiting 3 years for some of these changes to happen. And the one that I'm looking at specifically is agritourism and agritourism accommodation, because in any farms that are active in the ALR, agritourism and agritourism accommodation is a permitted use. You can have 10 sleeping units in the ALR on your farm if you're offering accommodation. And last year, the province, when they kind of cracked down on short-term rentals, they made an exemption for agritourism accommodation that could still happen. At the regional district level, you have to have a temporary use permit to have a short-term accommodation. And you can renew it once according to the bylaw, and then you're asked to look at rezoning your property. And this is part of what was in that package of like, this would be helpful if we did not have to have a temporary use permit within the regional district. So I've talked to staff
and the idea was maybe we can make an amendment to A2 zoned properties that are like zoned for agriculture to add in there, you can have agritourism or you can have agritourism accommodation. Or is it possible to make an amendment to the short-term rental bylaw to say, we're just going to make an exemption for agritourism accommodation to mirror the province? So I'm just hoping to have more discussion here. And I don't know if I see Director Cote's here. I don't know if something like that is a little bit more palatable with budget discussions coming up. To see something more immediate rather than waiting years for this to happen. I mean, our farm is in a position where that would be really beneficial to us because the permit was $600. It's now $1,100. It's gone up because of fees. And all these little things are adding up, and we'd just like to see this go somewhere and hope that the board's kind of hearing that this isn't going away and it's still an issue. And is there any other way that we can make it go faster? And I speak for ourselves at our farm, but I've talked to neighboring farms and other people in other electoral areas where their farm planning or what they think they might want to do could be based on what other diversification opportunities they have on their property. So, thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. I know this has definitely come up, and it's something that I think is really important and that we want to support. I think the committee wants to support agricultural businesses and growth of agriculture. I know agritourism is allowed in the ALR. There's up to the 10 units, and it doesn't seem right that the regional district is capping something that's allowed in ALR across the province. And then the other part that I wanted to point out is that the agricultural producers really were very active in the bylaw consultations. So a lot of us came out to the meetings. We gave our feedback about what we needed for the agricultural bylaws or the changes that we wanted to see, and went back and forth a number of times. And people kept showing up, and we kept working with staff to like, okay, I think we got it down. I don't even know what the latest version was, but it definitely got down to something that was very palatable to people. And then I know that to then have all of those changes that we spent a lot of time engaging with, to have them kind of delayed for years was very frustrating. And I was thinking about this also, thinking specifically of your operation where, there's like, it's a real financial business decision, but all of the other pieces where it could be important to people as well. And yeah, can be difficult to just change everything for everybody all at once, but I think this could be a really good solution for a change to one bylaw or one aspect of these regulations. To maybe the committee makes a motion to change that bylaw, or to have staff direct which one of the two bylaws they look into. And then at least it's something that can really concretely help some of our producers. And then in the following years, who knows maybe there's another one that maybe somebody will need to bring forward, but at least it's something that could happen hopefully quite quickly and easily, and acknowledging all the time and effort that people spent putting into the input for these.
So I'm not remembering what came to the board actually, besides the whole package. So I haven't really, I can't identify any small pieces of it that I've seen as a request. But I do know that, I support this, but there's two OCPs that are being worked on right now. The board chose to go 50% consultant and 50% staff to work on these, thinking that the staff would be able to do the other 4 OCPs after the first 2 were completed. I don't know what staff time we have that could actually be working on this to pull it apart and bring those 2 pieces forward. If they're really straightforward, I can't see why we couldn't make an amendment if there is staff time. I know right now we're in the middle of budget also. So today isn't the day to ask for it, but yeah.
Thank you. I think what I'm trying to do is give that little piece today of, because it's been like the bylaw, the whole zoning bylaw didn't go through. So then we asked, can we just do the agriculture part? So we kind of broke it down. And that was a no, which I understand. So now I'm trying to present like a tiny piece of what was in the agriculture part to say, can we just focus? Then there's a lot of things in there that would be beneficial, but I guess my ask is if there was a motion to say either to the short-term rental bylaw to make an amendment to exempt agritourism accommodation, or if it's more beneficial or easier to say to the agriculturally, like to the A2 or to the zoned agriculture properties in the rural areas to allow agritourism and agritourism accommodation and make that amendment to that bylaw.
So. I can continue?
Yep.
I would ask staff, which would be more beneficial at this time. It's frustrating as a board member that the last term, we were ready to push it all through. And this board has taken it all back to like square one, it feels like. Or this could have already been in place. So understanding that it's a board decision. And we rely on staff to make recommendations on which way would be better presented and more supported, easier for staff because applications need to come through staff as well and the board. So I would rely on staff. So I don't know if a request to staff to maybe identify what would be the best way to do this. Thanks.
So the last time it went through, it came from the ADC to the board to request that staff be directed to update the zoning bylaw on all agricultural fronts. And there was a whole passel of stuff that was included in that, as you had mentioned. And then it went back to the EA directors because it's considered an EA director purview, you know, keeping in mind that we have entities like Modern Treaty Nations on the board and things like that. And so they were content to let the EA directors discuss. And from there, then it was deferred to budget to talk and see if we had budget. It all comes back to, honestly, it comes back to staff time. And I'm apologetic about the fact that literally I am the only planner on staff. Right now, we are so short, we're basically a shoestring that's being stretched. But progress is being made on the OCPs doggedly, and development applications are still going through because we're bound to determine. So I should clarify that in case any of my planner friends are listening. Only a planner two. There's lots of planner ones. But what does the committee think about trying one more time? With the caveat of paring it down to agritourism accommodations going up through the board. I defer to Director Cote. I see that Director Boyko had to go, but I defer to Director Cote to see if that's something that could be brought forward yet again, parceling it down to the one consideration for amending either the zoning bylaw for agritourism and agritourism accommodation to allow in the agricultural zones, which are the A zones, or amendment to the STR, the short-term rental bylaw, to allow for agritourism accommodation and agritourism, or be exempt. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot the button. I mean, not being on staff, like I would view that amending the STR bylaw to exclude agritourism accommodation from needing that TUP would be simpler, but staff would have more insight. Whatever would be simpler to present to the board to hopefully get through within the year, so we're not waiting years for this. Like, it would be ideal.
Wayne, and then I have a comment.
Okay, it's my observation here that what's been happening here is I think that the agricultural issues are being held hostage by And we all know from the town hall meetings, the pushback on all the bylaws and the updating of the OCPs. And I think that what they're doing here is they want to do with everything all at once. And they're not willing to give up any herding sticks they got to get the rest of it packaged in. And I think that we're being held hostage for that. We all support the agricultural things that need to be happened. They should be happening separately. So let's just take another run at it and see what happens. But I think it's going to come back with a certain result.
I just, a suggestion being as how there's an example that you said that the province just made an exemption through the short-term rentals. That might be a very simple approach to say to the board is to say the province just did this, they exempted all short-term rentals for agritourism. Can we do the same thing? And also that seems to me that it would allow anyone to do the agritourism exemption rather than just the properties in A2, and I don't know who that is, so.
Can I just speak to that? I think that's a great way to look at it, because also if you exempt the agritourism accommodations, there's certain restrictions within the ALR and the province that you have to have farm status. There's all the things that have to be in place for you to be able to do the agritourism. Like it has to be secondary to your primary farming. Like there's so many things already in place. And then if that exemption was there for the agritourism accommodation as part of the STR, that's less staff time to put into, like, you don't even have to worry about those ones. It's done, it's regulated by the province. We're just aligned with the province.
Russell?
I was just going to say kudos to you for bringing forward, like, addressing the staff's concerns. They don't have enough capacity. You're trying to make it easier to address that, but this won't go anywhere unless you get the support of your Beaver Creek, Cherry Creek, and Beaufort electoral area directors, because obviously there was concern about proceeding with the bylaws and so don't just leave it up to staff to bring forward a staff report. You need to work in the background to talk to those area directors and ensure that they understand that this is just simple, this is just modifying, and this is supportive. You need that political support once it comes to the table.
So I have a question to staff. Yeah. So would this just be on agricultural land, like ALR land, or could it also be interpreted to be able to use it on aquaculture land? Because that's agriculture tourism also. I don't know how to.
If you're looking to align with the Agricultural Land Commission's Act and regulations, it's only on agricultural land reserve. That is what they're concerned with. So it would be limited to that because the regulations and the legislation are already in place for ALR land. And what Tanya had indicated is hopefully that there would be enough in place under the ALC Act and regulations to police this, that the province would not balk at, doing a mass exemption. If you try to drag it into non-ALR land, then you're creating almost a loophole for people who are chronic short-term rental, organizations or companies to find a loophole. And that's not what this is about, I don't think. So the only thing is, I can't speak to whether or not this is going to go through. Obviously, I never do. But the only thing I can see that would potentially be a complicating factor is if the province had tied their exemption for STRs for agritourism to the ability to have a business license, because regional districts can't have business licensing. And so we've used the temporary use permit to stand in its place because we're at a loss as to how to handle this. And the province has not exactly been forthcoming with an alternative process. So we're doing the best we can. But if they've tied that exemption for agritourism to any sort of business licensing, that will stymie us because we can't go that route. So that's the only caveat.
Can I ask a question with that information forward? Could there be to at least reduce the financial hindrance to, but then again, you're costing staff time. You can't just waive the fee, but the fee almost doubled in the last 3 years. And so that's, yeah, I think you articulated what I was trying to say was there's so many things that we'd like to do in agriculture and it's not going through right now. So if I picked out one little piece of saying the province says we can do it, can we just be the same as the province so there's no extra red tape or staff time or financial implication at the ACRD level for farms in the ALR who have farm status to have agritourism accommodation. Thank you.
So the only other thing, maybe to consider is with being understaffed, there may be a perception that if one exemption goes through, then the next one will be behind it, and the next one will be behind it, and the next one will be behind it, and the OCPs will be delayed. That's a decision that I think will go through the board. Because if there's a proposal put forward to do this exemption that you're talking about, the number of staff hours will be calculated. It's just math, how long it takes to do something like this with all the legislative requirements, if there are any, for things like, because you're messing with the zoning bylaw, there's sometimes requirements for things like public hearings that just, it's legislation, we have to abide by it just like everybody else. And so if the number of staff hours comes back, and it'll be, as Russell had indicated, if there's a perception or a possibility of delay of the official community plans in order to get this work done, then any help that can be done in the background, or advocacy, I guess, in the background with electoral area directors, just to imprint on them the importance of it. Staff have no control over things like that, nor should we. So that would be a board decision. Just to let you know about the process with regards to staff time, we calculated like a mathematical calculation of how long it takes to do all these things, because they're so prescribed by legislation, and we have so and so many staff with so and so many hours in the day. So.
So, as you know, my jurisdiction really is municipal boundaries. So what I'm going to say may have a transferable application to the electoral areas, but when the Sand Group sought creditor protection, I wrote up on a flip chart in my office that we need to think and act like we're in a crisis, because we are. And I believe that all of the events since then, the US talk of tariffs and on and on and on, really does point to the fact that we are in a crisis. And a developer came to me a few weeks ago and said, I'd like to put money in Port Alberni, but your approval and permit times have slipped to the point where you're now about a year out. And yeah, it's the same for almost every other municipality on the island, but the return on investment for us being anywhere else, Comox Valley, Cowichan Valley, Nanaimo, you name it, is higher than it is in Port Alberni. So anything and everything that you can do to shorten your approval time is where you start to gain a competitive advantage. And he emphasized that. And a few days after I spoke to him, I spoke to one of the VPs at Canfisco, and he basically said, look, we think Port Alberni is a great place to be expanding operations. But honestly, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California is so difficult to do business in that we find it a lot easier to go to Texas or, any of the southern states. And again, the message was anything and everything you can do to increase your competitive advantage, and that is reducing approval timelines, reducing permit timelines. reducing times to get tenures in place. Any of those things are, what you need to be focusing on if you want your community to grow or even to stabilize and thrive. And so like I said, it really applies, but the question that Director Cote asked about aquaculture, there are aquaculture operations that I think would be extremely well suited to bed and breakfast or short term, come down and understand what we're doing. But the whole aquaculture sector is in turmoil as it is. So start with where there is some terra firma. Yeah.
Thank you, Pat, and appreciate that perspective. And I think that everyone here agrees that it's a tough slog and food is really important. So how to expedite is a tougher question, but if you have an answer.
Well, the two individuals that I spoke to said, it really is up to your elected officials and your staff to figure this out. He said they've got to find a way. And the notion of, going to consultants to support staff is one. The other is, Port Alberni's the same. We're doing our OCP for the first time in 14 years, and it's now into year 2 or 3 of the. Okay, so we're into year 3, and he said, you've got to decide what your priorities are. And he said, if you've got a proponent with a project in hand, you might, your elected officials and your staff may need to decide, what, this has been 3 years, let's pause it for a little bit longer and get, the bird in the hand in place. Because we're going to go elsewhere, just, given that your approval times are so long. And it is a function of staff are shorthanded, they're overwhelmed, and as Director Cote pointed out, the elected officials are approaching their landing 1.5 years out or whatever it is, and there are things that they want to get done. And they'd like to be able to show progress on some of these areas. So it's a challenge to elected officials and staff and, to the proponents that want to see something done. I said to them both, come to the city, be a delegation, talk about the issues that you're facing, and maybe somewhere, somehow, somebody will say, yeah, you know what, let's get on this.
Everybody's looking at me. All right, Lisa.
Just a quick note, Alberni Farmers Institute did provide a letter about all the restrictions that were coming about for the production of food on small acreages and all the rest of it. Also, just like Tanya talks about, being more restrictive on ALR land with regards to agritourism is more restrictive than ALR already has. How that, why do you have to reinvent the wheel? There's already in place things for the land that is in the ALR. So it shouldn't be difficult. And making food priority. And like you say, what's happened down south, we don't know what's going to be happening. We could be in more crisis when it comes to our food production, being able to grow locally, logistics as far as the ferry, it's an extension of our highway, and us not being able to have priority access to get our products back and forth. Livestock, as we've discussed, I really do think it needs to be a priority. Like, you know, people keep saying food security, food sovereignty. Let's be real about it. Let's make a difference, and let's not keep postponing these things. We really need to do something. Like you say, it's in a crisis situation. Farmers need to be able to diversify, and sometimes it's not growing food. Like, realistically, there's going to be more people go out of business than not. For instance, bedding has more than doubled. Without the Sound Group, it has doubled just basically overnight, and that's just one product. So, thanks.
All right, well, I don't know where we go from here. I think it's clear. Yeah, well, we need a motion, I think, is the thing, and I just, yeah, say it's, I appreciate your comments, just have something specific thing. I don't think anyone would disagree that it makes sense that Tanya can do this without all of this, especially since of all of the history and the regulations. So just like, how do staff and the board work together and just get it done? But I think, yeah, we can get a motion and start there.
Okay, then I think I would make the motion that the ADC recommend the board of directors look at making amendment to the STR bylaw to exempt agritourism accommodation from needing a TUP within the ACRD on ALR land. Thank you.
Point of order, if you're not a member, can you make a motion?
So, and I just want to thank everybody for listening to me talk about this every meeting. And I hope that maybe we've like chewed this down to a small enough piece that something will happen.
I would like to give you, I don't know, a prize for the best motion. Like, I don't even think we have to repeat it, right? Like, we all heard that and it was a sentence that made sense. Very nice. So is there anyone to second that motion? Lisa, all in favor?
Can you repeat the motion?
Yeah, could you repeat the motion?
I had a separate one written down and then you changed it. So that the Agricultural Development Committee request the ACRD Board of Directors direct ACRD staff to amend the STR bylaw to exempt the need for a temporary use permit on agritourism on ALR properties. Is that close? Okay. Okay.
Is it only to exempt the TUP? Or was there also just to exempt agritourism from the short-term rental? Because wasn't there something about the 10 units as well?
No, that would be regulated by the province because you can only have up to 10 sleeping units, whether that be a bedroom, a tent, a campsite. We've been working on this for years.
But I think the ACRD is a limit of 6 currently.
Yeah.
I believe so. That was the problem.
I will take what I can get right now if this would just baby step us through to something, because when obviously we've had the whole thing ready to go and it's not moving. So I'm trying to simplify as much as I can. I'll fight that battle later.
Yeah, it's like you say, it's already in the ALR or ALC thing, and it should mirror that.
I think we had a motion, we had a seconder, and we passed it, correct? Yeah. Okay. Progress, maybe something. Thank you all for all your time to listen to people rant not renting with legitimate concerns and needs. Are there any other updates from agricultural producers?
I'll just also comment about the little hurricanes that we had out our way. We certainly have felt that problem. We currently have SkyTech back up working on the roof again. It's taken some time to get that done, and we're probably already over $15,000 in repairs, and that still isn't all of it yet. So, and again, the bedding costs and stuff like that, people should be made aware, like it's doubled because we don't, Sand Group, we were getting that. And people don't understand that bedding is important. Cedar is not so great because it actually depletes the nutrition in the manure if you put it onto the grass. So having specific species for bedding is very important, and a lot of people don't understand that. So we really are in a food crisis situation. People don't really realize that. And I think, you know, like Pat says, we need to get things done. Like we can talk about it, but we really need to see some actual evidence of things getting done. Thanks.
All right, if there's no other, oh, there is one more. Go ahead, Amy.
I'm sorry, but one last thing, and it's actually a really good thing, and I totally forgot to put it in my report, but I have to bring up the fact that the ACRD partnered with North Island College and Hoobachussett First Nation to put on a greenhouse production course at the Hoobachussett Community Farm. And I'm super stoked to say that the first day of the class is today, and they start, and they had a full class. And even, I think they even had to start a waiting list. And one of our very own ADC members is not here today because she's in that course. So it's fantastic. And it's something that we've heard again and again, that greenhouse production skills have great possibilities out on the West Coast because they do. They can expand your operations at 365 days a year, which is super awesome for food security. And it's something we hear again and again, that we need more training opportunities. And this was not easy to get the grant in place that fully funds these students, but it was totally worth it. So on a positive note, yay.
Great. And I need a motion that the Agricultural Development Committee accept these reports A to P for information.
So moved.
Moved by Sarah, seconded by Tanya. All in favor? Yay. Motion passed. I don't believe there's any late business. Question period. Are there any questions from our fabulous wide audience out there in the land?
No, there are no questions on Zoom or in the responses email.
Can I just add that I pulled up the article that I wrote? I just think it's important to have the dates for agriculture related events. They're not till April, but our next meeting's not till April. So, and that's just that Sunday, April 27th. That is the Seedling Sunday in Tofino, but it is also the annual Homestead Market, which will be occurring out at Beaver Creek Hall from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Nicole Steinbach's organizing that, and there's going to be demonstrations in various categories. Looks pretty good. And then just the annual seedling sale at the Spirit Square Farmers Market is Saturday, April 26th, May 3rd, and May the 10th, as per what they said last year. And it went into the Grower's Guide. And then the Sheep to Shawl event to be held at Arrowvale in conjunction with the new Fiber Guild that's in town will be Saturday, May 10th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I can email you all that unless you've already got it written down there because you're so speedy. Awesome. Okay, thanks.
I like that idea, having like a recap of event lists, because there's a lot that went on and, you know, it's a lot. So having a recap of the upcoming dates would be great, maybe at the end of each meeting. And another thing, I was not going to do it now. And I don't know if we're ever going to do it because these meetings are always going to be long unless somehow we take Pat's advice and just make it faster. I don't know how to do that, but anyways, I think it's really important that people get value when they're here. And keep coming, even if they are long and all of that. So maybe you can reach out to me or Amy, if you have suggestions about what might make these meetings more meaningful to you. Or also what you liked about them, so we could make sure we keep doing those things. But I know like we have, like Bob Collins is here for the first time in quite a long time. And I really do want to see people continuing to show up. It really means a lot to everybody. So thanks for sticking with us. And with that, unless there's anything else, do we need a motion to adjourn or can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting at 3:59? Tanya, seconded by Anna, all in favor? All right, thanks very much.